welcome to a new episode of the Eastern Lariat podcast, your show for news, notes, reviews, and opinions on the world of Japanese pro wrestling here on cagematch.net. I am your host, STRIGGA. I am back after almost a month of a hiatus due to work, and I am, of course, back with my man, Dylan. I'm so glad that we're back on this show. I'm hyped. There's a lot to talk about, Dylan, on this show. Great that you're with me again here.
You don't know how much I missed you. We had every episode of wrestling that we had, or every show of wrestling. I thought of you. I thought, what would STRIGGA think of this? And now we get to find out what you thought of it. Like the people have been waiting. Everybody wants to know. Shout out to Jessica, who was on the show. We did do an episode. It
was a great show. I actually listened to it.
Oh, thank you. You listened. See, look at that. STRIGGA listened to his own show that he wasn't on.
And I also caught you saying that I probably wouldn't listen. So you threw me under the bus on this episode.
I praised you, though. I said how much I respected your opinion. If you really listened, maybe you need to listen a little bit more.
Maybe I need to listen.
Yes, but she was very good on the show. We did a little bit extra, too. If you guys haven't heard it yet on the Patreon, we covered the whole tournament of Champion Carnival. And she's going to do her show. Her first episode is coming up of her new show, Jumping Knee Pod, coming up. So big shout out to Jess. She's awesome. Definitely check her out. And I'm a true fan of All Japan as well. We had a lot of interesting thoughts on there. I have to say, because I did do a show also with Dr. Jonathan, another Australian, as well here. So I was big in the Aussie scene this past month on there. But he was actually at some shows live, too. He went to Japan. But he left before the finals because it was Mother's Day. And he didn't want to miss all of that.
See, this man has his priorities sorted.
I told him that. I said, listen, I'm all about wrestling and Champion Carnival and going to the finals, but you can't leave your wife alone on Mother's Day. You can't leave your mom behind on Mother's Day. You need to be there. I told him this myself. But he was on the final show we did on the Patreon. So the Patreon had a lot of cool stuff about the Champion Carnival. We talked a little bit about that. But yeah, thank you, Jess. I hope everybody checks out Jumping Knee Pod. It's going to be a bona fide hoot, in my opinion. But with that said, you listen to the show, and you know where we were at from there. And
yes.
My God, STRIGGA, so much happened, even since that episode to here. So I say we should get into it.
Yeah, absolutely we should. So the way that we are approaching this is, of course, Golden Week is in the rear view mirror right now. Golden Week ended on May 6th. It started basically on... I think the first holiday was 1 or 2 days after that, but the first set of big shows in Japan in Golden Week really started on April 27. Of course, it started with Stardom All-Star Grand Queendom from Yokohama Buntai, drawing 2,735 fans, which had the amazing match between Mayu Iwatani and Sari for the IWGP Women's title. It had a match that followed this match with Saori Ano and Hanan, who really were in a tough position to follow Mayu and Sari because they went all out in their match. But Saori Ano and Hanan did a great job to keep up with the show's pace. Unfortunately, the main event couldn't really hang with the two prior matches I just mentioned. So Maika and Mo Watanabe, in my opinion, was good, but didn't reach the other two main singles matches on that show, Dylan.
Yeah, this is another one. Me and Sandre actually did a show on Patreon about this show as well. Breaking in a new venue with Buntai here. Record-setting number from Stardom here. The number one highest drawing show at wrestling at this show.
Still at this point.
It still is.
All Japan didn't outdraw Stardom. They drew 2,530 fans for the Champion Carnival finals. I like this venue a lot.
Yeah, me too. Me and Sandre talked about that on the show. Like, it's a really good, cool new venue that they have here, and I thought it was a good vibe. The fans were into it. It was a good show, but really, again, if you want extended thoughts, and go to the Patreon, and we talked about the whole show, every single match on there, and all kinds of stuff. the Iwatani and Sari match had to be one of the best matches of the year to me so far. I thought that was a great match, exactly what you would expect, and I was so impressed, particularly with Iwatani. She's another one. I always say with her, she's the ultimate victim of her own greatness in a lot of ways, I feel like, because we all expect her to be great. So when she is great, it doesn't stand out as much, and sometimes I feel like she gets not talked about enough because of that. But in this match, I thought she actually was the better of the two. For Sweet Sorry here, her selling, her bumping was great, but even on offense, you could tell when they went to the headbutt spots, Sorry went a little not soft, obviously, but Mayu went all out for it.
Yeah.
Like, she gave herself to this whole match. It was amazing, great performance. The Ano and Hanan match was definitely I like the booking of it, in that they're giving somebody new a chance. I think we know that they've needed that. We know all about the stuff that's happened with people leaving. The company's kind of in flux. They need to get behind some people. So they gave Hanan this spot, winning the Cinderella tournament. I think this was a fine match, like Ano and Hanan. I don't think it was just the fact that it happened. It's like Hanan's already been elevated, but I don't think this was like a great. I don't think this particularly did that much. It was a good match. Obviously, a lot comes from the prior match being so great that it kind of overshadowed it. And it wasn't bad, don't get me wrong. But I did think it was missing something when you compare a lot of these other white belt defenses that we've seen in the past. The white belt is really the title in Stardom that has so many great champions and amazing matches. You go back to the original Momo run with the white belt. Hoshiki had an amazing run with it. Mirai had some good matches. Like, even last year, it wasn't a great storyline run, but she had good matches. I think Ano's missing that big match for this white belt run. And Hanan, obviously, her future is very bright and is going to be, one day she's being set up to be the top star of the company, the way things are going. But not there yet, in my opinion. Like, Hanan's a fine worker. And will only grow to be better. I didn't think this one really stood out. And the main event, I didn't really like at all. I thought the first part of the match, like the regular match, was pretty good. Once they got into the rest of the stuff, with the Uedo Tai running in and the different formations of the match, it went long. I didn't think it was a very good match, to be honest, when you compare it in all faculties of it. And we'll see where they're going. I think both champions right now, I personally thought the tag title match on that show, like the four-way Goddesses of Stardom match, that was my second favorite match on the show. I just think FCC have to be considered one of the best teams right now. It's like they're proving it constantly. They had, the match where they won the belts in Golden Week, which was another incredible match. But the four-way on that show was really good, too. You had the Crazy Star team. The Queen's Quest team was good, O2 line. I thought it was a really high-speed, fast-paced match, really good for what they were going for. So I'd recommend the Goddesses of Stardom title match and definitely the Iwatani and Sari match. The other two, I think if you're into the Hanan story a lot, you'll gain something from that match. The Red Belt match didn't really do a lot for me.
Okay, Stardom then. For that show, the Golden Week show, you said, I'm just looking at the rating, or the second Golden Week show you wanna say, from the 5th of May was the tag title change, 8.78 on Cage Match. Hazuki and Koguma defeated Meisera and Suzuki. Has a really good rating there.
It was a phenomenal match.
Great stuff there. Yeah, maybe I'm going to go back and watch that. I didn't catch it. Yeah, going to some other shows. We're going to talk about New Japan and All Japan on the later part of the show. We're just going to browse through some of the stuff that is there. I want to shout out a match from Ryukyu Dragon Memorial 2024.
Just real quick, before we go to that, I did want to say they did a follow-up show to that like the week after where they had a title defense. It was against O2 Line, and that was a great match. Like I said, FWC's on a huge run right now. Keep your eyes on them for tag team of the year. If they keep going, I mean, we saw it a couple of years ago. They had this great run. But them as champions, I thought was totally the right call. You got to check those matches out. The Crazy Star match and the O2 Line match are both worth watching, but especially the title change. That was like one of the best tag matches of all year to me.
Good stuff. Yes. So the Ryukyu Dragon Memorial Show from the 28th. It was a show live on YouTube, and they uploaded it a couple of days after, so it's still up for free on YouTube. And that's one of the greatest things about Japanese independent wrestling now, that it's getting more and more accessible to viewers worldwide. Ryukyu Dragon Pro Wrestling had been on a streaming service before. It was the Twitcasting service, but that's only accessible through a Japanese credit card. So that's a big wall to cross, you might say. So having it free on YouTube, it's much better, of course. And we had a main event between Tilan Shisa and Shiromi Saber. That match, it's not a must-see match, but it's a good match to see what the quality of this independent promotion is all about. We got Shiromi Saber, who is a veteran at this point with 16 years of experience, trying to ground Tilan Shisa. He's a trainee of Takamichi Noku's, comes from the Kaientai dojo, now of course 2AW. Went back to his home base of Okinawa a couple of years ago and is quickly becoming their household name. He has been on some Dragon Gate shows. He had a program with Yamato last year too. Didn't really work out for him in Dragon Gate, though. He's not like on the level of the Dragon Gate talent, but still a good wrestler. And he was, of course, the high-flying champion in this match, babyface here. It's a good match to check out if you want to watch some independent wrestling. On that same show, we also had Satoshi Kojima going over Gurukun Mask in 11 minutes. Was a fine match as well. Good stuff there with Kojima going down to Okinawa for a vacation and wrestling a quick 11-minute match. So yeah, Ryukyu Dragon, always a fun place to check out. We also had the Limit Break show on that day, which had another series of Atsushi Kotoge versus Jun Akiyama. It's going to be a singles match between these two, and I can't wait for that. Except for that, it was an okay show. Not as great as the first Limit Break show that we raved about here on the show, Dylan.
Oh, yeah, the first match with Kotoge Go as the team was, like, again, one of the best tag matches of the year. This wasn't nearly as good as that. I mean, it had, like, Mensare in there.
Yeah.
And Rukia. But, I mean, the stuff with Kotoge and Akiyama is still great. Like, and when they get to their match, it will be awesome. No doubt. The main event of that show was, like, a 0-1 match.
Yeah, 0-1 world title match.
I mean, this is the thing with Limit Break and Real, Team Noah and Real 0-1. I mean, they continue to have these interactions. I mean, what do you think of Saito as 0-1 champion?
It's his first ever singles title, so good for the man. Yes. Except for that.
At 58?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know as the champion. I mean,
he never had a singles title, no.
He's never had that many titles, really. Like, in general, like, even tag runs. I mean, I guess
he was out of Noah for a while, came back and had another tag title run in 2018 with Marufuji. But he was never like a title guy. He was always a utility player on the undercards. And sometimes he would get a world title shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was it.
I was just saying, he's been around for like 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, he's not like some new guy. He started in like 1991 or 90, something like that.
Yeah. I think he wrestled Liger in the late 90s, didn't he? In the late 80s.
Yes. Maybe so. But I just remember him, when I think of him, like he was in Heisei Ishingun, for a long time. He did the WAR stuff. It's, tag teams with all kinds of people. But, he's doing his thing, and I guess I mainly think of him as a member of the Dark Agents, to be honest with you, with Masao in a way on there. But now he's the champion of 0-1. They need somebody to be the champion, and he is who they turn to. But the show itself was not that great, to be honest with you, on there. No. Like, none of the matches really stood out.
I want to shout out, though, another match from a show that I watched. It was a DDT show. They went up to Sapporo for the final weekend of April. And on the second day of their double shot in Sapporo, they had the Are You Happy death match between Shunma Katsumata and Mao. And this was just a phenomenal match. Just not like an outstanding pro wrestling match, but just an insanely fun comedy death match. One of the likes that only DDT is able to have, really. And mostly when DDT has some of those matches, Mao or Katsumata are in these matches. The stipulation of the match was that whenever you were thrown onto or into something, you had to say happy afterwards, or otherwise you would lose the match. And so, of course, at one point in the match, they would bring out Lego, and they were throwing each other into Lego. And there was this moment in the match in which I think it was Shunma. He was thrown into the Lego, and Ref Matsui asked him, happy? And he said, happy, in this dying voice of his back being thrown into Lego. And it was just great fun to see this match.
It sounds like
Great
some
stuff.
sicko wrestling.
Definitely was. All right. We're going to May now with Wrestling Dontaku. We're going to talk about New Japan later. But maybe we could talk about Wrestling Dontaku here because we are mostly focusing, I guess, on the actual tour right now with the Best of Super Junior and maybe some of the Resurgence outcome. So the first day of Wrestling Dontaku, it did half the number that the second day did.
Yeah.
And it did also half the quality that the second day did. Man. I don't know. This show. Now that I'm looking at the second day card, the quality wasn't much better, but but the house definitely was half of it. But where are you at with your general enthusiasm for New Japan Pro Wrestling, Dylan?
And even the second show wasn't a great number, to be honest.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Like I said, especially the first show was just obviously bad. But, I mean, let me ask the big question coming out of this. Why did they change the titles back to Owens and Kenta, for the tag titles?
Hiroki Goto gotta do Hiroki Goto.
That's true, yeah, he did get jobbed out in that match. But, actually, as bad as that was, actually it's true of basically all their titles. Yeah. You look at it, Finlay loses a title, gets it right back.
There is this running joke of everything that happens at Wrestle Kingdom being nixed, on the next tour, and now they waited a couple of months to do that.
Yeah, I mean, they nixed it right away and then just reset. So-and-so lost the title, now Zach's got the title back, but then he loses it again. It's like titles are flying left and right in this company right now. Nobody can keep track of who the champion is. Moxley's now the champion. There's nothing going on in this company that's good. I would say if these two shows, there was really two matches I would even recommend between the two. The first one would be on the first show, Cobb and Zach. I thought was a really good TV title match. I like what they did. It wasn't as good as the matches they had last year, though, which they were doing exactly the same thing that they were doing here.
It was a replay of things where they kind of went into the direction. Okay, yeah, we wrestled each other last year, so we knew each other's tricks, and that was it.
But I liked it because the booking did that, but I do like how they actually worked the match because a lot of it was Zach doing okay, they're doing a totally different style than last year.
Exactly, trying to do something different, yeah.
Yeah, Zach was trying to do power stuff to combat Cobb, which I thought was a very fun story, and I thought worked really well. Cobb is, I said before, I thought he was a guy they didn't do enough with, and I like him as the TV champion. The thing with Zach, it's nothing against his wrestling, it's just we've been down this road last year. He had a whole year with this belt. We don't need to go right back to it, in my opinion. And I mean, the stuff with Riddle was just a huge fail. And I would say overall, the main event of that show was all right. The Finlay match was all right. It wasn't anything bad, but it wasn't good, particularly good either.
Let's get to the real stuff, Dylan. Let's get to the never title match.
Oh yeah, Shingo and Gabe. Now here's the thing. I know you love this match.
I love this match,
and I will give you your time to speak on it. But I think my feelings were perfectly encapsulated by a comment on Cage Match about Gabe Kidd specifically. Because it's a good match. I'm not saying I didn't like it, but here's my big issue with this match and just Kidd in general. So I'm going to quote Tim Hunter here on Cage Match. It had potential to be great, but Gabe Kidd can't help himself with his shtick that comes across very phony and fake. You're not a madman just because you're saying I'm a madman constantly. That's him. Like, that's exactly how I feel about him. He tries so hard, so hard with this gimmick and cutting promos throughout his matches at being this wild man character. It does not come across authentic at all to me. Like, I'm really off-put by his character. I think it comes across really fake, just like he said. And that's the thing. Show me these things. Don't tell me. Like, and he does a lot of telling and not a lot of showing, in my opinion.
Okay, first of all, Tim Hunter, that is your real name. I'm going to block you on Cage Match right now. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna. That's not what we do. Because this is a fair rating. I can see that. I can totally see that.
Well, he didn't downgrade it. He gave it 7. I think that's about what I would give.
Yeah. It's okay. That's completely fine because there's reasons for that. I can see that. I was so caught in the moment of this match, and I love the way that these two approached it. It was just one of those never title matches where both guys went in swinging and went out swinging, basically. Also, I specifically loved the moment following the pile driver that Gabe Kidd did, and where he just fell into the wrong direction. I thought that was such a great moment, and just such a great call, and that, in my opinion, felt nothing like it was phony or fake or choreographed, like some of the comments here indicate. I thought that was just a completely natural fall into a direction that you just can't control right now after swinging so hard all the time. So I thought that the selling in that match was superb, and also the general output, the general direction of the match. I couldn't put this match over more.
I also thought that they went so far. I first think that a lot of the stuff early on was kind of slow, to be honest with you. And I guess it's just part of the style these days where you have to go outside at every match and go to the rails. It's like Gary.
Yes.
Like,
every match now. You practically have, for every big match that you get, you have to exclude the first 10 minutes.
And him especially, again, he was doing that goofy stuff with Desperado on commentary. Like, again, that came across very forced and fake to me.
Yeah.
And okay, you hit one moment in that match, like where he fell the wrong way, but as a match itself, I still had the same problems with him. There's stuff good, and then, even after Pile Driver, you had a little bit of no-selling stuff going on there. I thought particularly, he does this great move, like the Takagi driver, like with the hands behind the back into the Pile Driver. That's not even the finish. Like, what did we have to do? Why couldn't we have just had that as the finish? Why did we have to go to the last of the Dragon? What are the rules that say we have to win with this, even you have this amazing move that he needed to...
That's some of the rules in wrestling in general, Dylan, especially in Japan these days, where you have to use your move.
I mean, you're not wrong about that. And like I said, I liked it. It's just there were some flaws. It was a good match that I felt was a flawed match. And to me, there's another match that we're going to talk about that really captured the spirit of the Never title. It wasn't... They showed me. They didn't have to tell me. He didn't have to argue with the commentator. He didn't have to spit in his face. He didn't have to say fuck 20,000 times in a match. Like, they just had a great match. And I think that's what's missing with him, and why. I mean, we're going to talk about him more when we talk about Noah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'll get to that when we talk about Noah. But the match was good. I still recommend watching it. I just thought there were some flaws that prevent me from saying it was this epic, match for me.
Yeah. Before we go to Noah, then maybe we'll just go to Big Japan first.
Okay, wait a minute. We got to talk about Moxley as champion.
I thought we're going to talk about Moxley as champion later on, but we might as well do right now, because of course when you're just right there, talk about Moxley as champion.
Yeah. Okay, so this match between Narita, the thing is, leading up to this, if you've noticed him as the champion, there's some of these Korakuen numbers for New Japan. It was getting a little rough there for a little while here. Mm-hmm. This show was not, not a blazing success, to say the least. They're clearly going in the direction of Evil challenging next.
It's crazy that they are going there again after the bust of last October.
They must have something. This is their decision, and we'll see how it goes. Everyone tells me how wildly popular Evil is. It's not reflected in any of his title defenses for sure, or shots, but we will see maybe it'll work this time against Moxley. There's been a lot of talk about Moxley as champion going in. Like all these people are putting these Tokyo Sports comments out about how, like, why is the champion on this AEW guy? Like half the roster, it feels like, has had some kind of comment like that. And
yeah, but he doesn't care, or he doesn't even read these comments.
Yeah, no, he's ignored this whole thing.
It's another great sign for the New Japan wrestler that nobody takes notice of anything that they do or say.
And even stealing the title, like Moxley's gimmick, he's saying is like he's going to defend the honor of this title, but by getting it back from Evil.
Yeah.
So clearly a lot of miscommunications there. We'll see where it goes. I don't think you could judge anything off of this Naruto match, to be honest with you. I think it's just...
No, I just thought that Ren Narita, even with all the smoke and mirrors that surrounded the match, Narita looked completely out of this league that Moxley is in. He was nowhere near the level that a main event level guy like Moxley is. Narita, I don't know if he'll ever get there, but if so, he has a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and I kind of said it even during the Cup, that I thought his wrestling has suffered. And obviously in this match, it wasn't even about that. I hesitate to judge a lot of these wrestlers as performers because I think the gimmick is just irredeemable at this point. Like I said, it could have been the greatest wrestler ever, and I think this match still would have sucked in this role. I mean, we'll see what happens. Like, so far, it's shaky. Like Moxley is champion. I still can't understand why they took the belt off Naito. I said at the time I thought it was a big mistake. And again, I'm not judging anything right now. We're only a month in. But I mean, how much further can you go? And with Evil around the corner, I think our expectations are low. I would say.
Yeah, my expectations were that Naito was getting the title match at Dominion. But I guess they need Naito in a different role now with the Jake Lee feud going.
Would that have been so bad if they just did it for the title?
Jake Lee and Naito?
Yeah.
I'm thinking that Jake Lee might get the win over Naito, which is why Naito isn't getting the title back.
Maybe so. Yeah, you might be right about that. You may very well be right about that. Which, let's round this back to the original question when this all happened. Why take the belt off Naito? When you did?
Yeah. There was the question going in there all the time, but I always had the strong feeling that they were doing that. And I couldn't come up with a reasoning behind it, but that's what happened, and that's what they did. And yeah.
I mean, when they announced the match, I thought Moxley would win too. I just thought that it's not a good idea.
Right. Yes. Maybe. Yeah.
So, and I think it's nothing against Moxley. I just thought it was a dumb idea to move the belt off Naito to a foreigner when the company is like, let's face it, look at these shows. This company is dire right now.
It's in a rough shape right now.
We're going to talk about the juniors tour a little bit later on there. Maybe that'll give us a different outlook of things. But one day we're going to have to get back to the full show here. I guess one more thing before we move on. What do you think of how they've done things so far? Like, so much has been around these foreigners, these ex-WWE guys. Riddle, Nemeth,
I think it's pretty clear that the direction that they took at the beginning of the year with Nemeth and with Matt Riddle was a complete failure. Yeah. And I'm wondering at what point the booking office has to face the consequences of their decisions. Because it's not the first time that they completely missed the boat, or that they made the complete wrong decision with guys coming into the promotion and getting pushes.
Right.
This one was the most obvious one, of course, because it happened so recently.
Yeah.
Still, the Nemeth thing is, I mean, the Riddle stuff, it was completely, you could expect that would happen you could have almost bet on it And I think a lot of people would have gotten the time frame and the decision-making exactly right, how it unfolded, because it was so glaringly obvious that Matt Riddle wouldn't stay in New Japan for a long time. Mm-hmm. The Nemeth thing still is wild to me. So he wins the AAA title. He comes back to New Japan. Before winning the AAA title, he goes out there and says that he's going to defend the global title on the global stage. Then he had this match with Tomohiro Ishii in the United States, and there wasn't even for the global title. Yeah. And everybody was wondering, okay, yeah, in storyline, it was not a title match because he still had the title match with the Tanahashi coming up. But that's not a real reason. That's a made-up reason, actually.
Yeah.
So
I said that at the time when we talked about that show.
Yeah. So they had this match with David Finlay that basically it was an impromptu match.
Build.
Yeah, one-night build to the match. And they changed the title. And he's, of course, yes, it's the Super Junior Tour right now, but I really wouldn't expect him back.
Yeah, and that's going to be my follow-up. Do you think he'll have a G1 spot?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. He missed the TNA show.
He got 0 reactions in New Japan. 0.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a difference maker at all, but they need guys for this tournament. Ultimately, they just need bodies at this point, and I think he's definitely alive.
He
he is a human being.
Qualifies him for the G1 Climax. Have we gotten to this point?
That might be the best we can ask for right now, Strig, with how things are going. But, he missed the TNA show for this, the TNA pay-per-view. And I wonder if those bookings or whatever might be more up his alley that he wants to take. He did the AAA thing, like you said. Maybe he wants to stay closer to home. Like I said, I've never thought him... I thought he wanted to be great. Like, I thought the effort was there.
I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. Yeah, I think the effort was there, and I thought the matches that he had were okay for what we could expect, but it's just... And they even said it on English commentary that people don't know who the guy is. Yeah. But the first thing that the guy, nobody knows who he is, does is win a title in New Japan.
Win title. Yeah. And that's a guy, I think, like, his style in a lot of ways is still that, like, WWE, like, mid-card style in a lot of ways. I think if he could adjust a little bit more to the Japanese style, like, if he were in a G1, I think he's a guy by the end of the road we'd be saying positive things about. Like, I really think he tries hard. I liked a lot of what they did at the start, actually, of the Tanahashi match, like the technical stuff they did. I thought that would be like a cool direction if Tanahashi would want to go that route more in the future as well. But just as a full performer, he's got a ways to go. And like you said, it may be the end of the road ultimately for him. And we're not, let's face it, I don't think too many fans are going to lose sleep if that's the case. But I don't hate him as a performer, or anything like that. And I think the booking is just terrible. To go back to Finlay, it just, again, it begs the question, why take the belt off Finlay in the first place?
And my question to that also is, Dylan, like I said, when does booking have to face consequences for the situation this company is in?
Well, to me, it's obvious that should have been a long time ago at the end of the day. But clearly it hasn't happened yet. We've had people leaving like left and right in this company lately. You're getting, even the people you brought in are already leaving, apparently. It's like, what are they going to do? Like, what are they going to do to get their way out of this? I just don't see any way right now. They have a long way to go, and there's no way any rational mind can look at this team and put faith in them that they're going to make this work and do good by the end. I don't think there's any way you could tell me that with a straight face, looking at how things have gone for really a long time now. But especially this year, like 2024, it's been rough for this company. Like, it has been very, very rough for them. And we'll see what their plans are.
We have 18 days of G1 Climax action ahead of us.
Like I said, they need bodies at this point. I didn't say they had to be good. I said they need people. There's not enough people to do a tournament. The way things are going. They're going to bring Kojima back for this.
It wouldn't be the worst decision, to be quite honest.
And Tenzan.
That would be not a good decision to be.
He's alive.
I give you that.
You saw him on that Wrestle Magic show in the semi-main. That's a big star.
He looked like he was alive. I'm going to give you that.
Well, let's move on.
Let's go to a company that apparently also needs bodies. Big Japan Pro Wrestling. Because they put one of those bodies in one of the most important matches of the show in Madman Pondo and his tag team partner Dale Patricks from Indianapolis, who is a dude, definitely. And he wrestled a match against the Crazy Lovers. Big Japan, they drew 1,656 fans to Yokohama Budokan. That is slightly below their draw of last year's Endless Survivor. The main event between Yuya Aoki and Daiichi Hashimoto, in my opinion, displayed a lot of what Big Japan is these days. It's a company that is able to put on a good show and is from time to time able to put on a banger that gets shouted out in our Twitter circles, but that really doesn't reach a lot of the international pro wrestling audience. And with Aoki and Hashimoto, we didn't get a great match. We got an okay to good match in the main event. It was great for Aoki to stand here in the main event after the great match he had with Okabayashi last year. Once again, here headlining the show. And we also had the deathmatch title where they switched in Ruji Ito to draw a crowd, which didn't really work out. I might say the best match on the show was the junior title match between Kota Sekifuda and Enakara. I really liked the match. I thought the approach was great with Enakara showing disrespect to Big Japan in the shirt and trying to leave the company with the title. I thought they did some good stuff in the match. Enakara tried to win at all costs with submissions and pinning combinations, which had Kota Sekifuda in some situations. Yeah, it looked like he was not getting along with the wrestling that Enakara displayed, so we had to use some stuff that he doesn't really use a lot, like, for example, the finish that he had in the end with his devastating backdrop. So I liked this match a lot, and I liked the undercard tag match of the Astronauts a lot against Shichari Toshoki and Katsumasa Yoshida, two of the biggest prospects of their respective companies, Yoshida for Big Japan Pro Wrestling and Shoki for 2AW. Other than that, a show that had a lot of matches, and few of them were really outstanding.
I thought Yoshida really brought it in that match against Astronauts. I felt like he was trying to really make an impression here, not just his personality, but even in the match. He was really going toe-to-toe with him, bringing some cool moves to the table.
The situation in which Shoki channeled his inner Okabayashi and tried the Argentine backbreaker on Takuya Nomura, that was great too.
Yeah, that was good. Shoki did good as well. No doubt about it. I thought Yoshida really impressed, and obviously everyone knows the Astronauts are great. So that was good stuff, and I thought it was one of the more fun matches on the show. The junior match was pretty good. No problems with Sekifuda. We've long been respectors of Sekifuda.
I love the guy. I think he's great.
Yeah, me too. Like, we've always defended him. I know some people didn't like his run that much, but we've always been on his side.
It's almost too bad that he's junior champion again, because I would really love to see him in the mix with Aoki and Nakanoe and Sekimoto in the heavyweights.
Yeah, me too. Like, I feel like we've been down this road, kind of similar to what I said about Zach and the TV title. Yeah. Like, he had his big reign at the end of the day. I don't think there's a lot of new ground he could go with there. And Kara was a great heel here too, going down with the shirt, he was spitting on it, he was kicking it around. It was really well done, work on his part. So good stuff there. The death match. What did you think of Pondo saying that they're Baka Gaijin? Pondo? I
really have no opinions on what they do. I just
feel like somebody else has that name.
Oh yeah, that's correct. Yes.
I was like, what? When you said that, going in there, but yeah, obviously, the match itself was terrible. Pretty much. I'm I'm just not into
I think
the
that's
deathmatch.
the two Japanese word he knows.
That's it. That's it. Pretty much. I'm just not a fan of the modern deathmatch style in general. It's always like setting stuff up, or like in that match where they put the plate on their own head. It's like it just makes the whole thing seem like a carnival show than like a real match. Like that's not my deathmatch. Like when Ito was actually good 20 years ago, like when he was the champion. Like it wasn't like that then. Like
Let me say this: it's pretty incredible that Ryukyu Ito is still able to walk.
That's true. I mean, that's undeniably a factual statement on your part.
He might also be one in consideration for the G1 Climax because he's very much alive as well.
That's true. I mean, he could be someone that they turn to. Yeah. I thought they tried, in that match, but it's just like, how can you get into Ito at this point?
Yeah. It was a cool stipulation that was executed not as good as the stipulation made it look like it would.
You do have to give Kamitani credit for trying so hard as the deathmatch guy and how he's transitioned. Yeah. I thought that match was way better than the tag, but it wasn't good either. And I do think too, another problem, I really didn't get the sense the crowd was that into any of this stuff. Going in there, I don't know how you felt, but it didn't feel like
crowd.
Yeah,
the crowd last year was way more into the match.
Yeah, that's our expectations, not just last year, but yeah.
And that's the thing for Big Japan. Even Kamitani, he said something along the lines of that he wants to save the company, and he says that they didn't draw good crowds in the last couple of months, and he wants to turn that around, so they're making that part of the storyline. But the last couple of months, I said it when we did the I think it was the year-end awards. I said that Big Japan has made some good decisions in the last year. Obviously, with some of the foreigners this year, they haven't made such good decisions. But they did. They had some good decisions last year, and they promoted some of the wrestlers to good positions, like, for example, Aoki or Endakara as the junior champion. But nothing that they do seems to catch fire, and they are slowly but surely going down into the levels that 0-1 is on right now. When you look at some of the crowds they get for their tour shows, I always wonder how these shows can be feasible, or if they can be feasible at all, when they go to places like Hiroshima, have a card like they did on this day. I told you off the air, Dylan, they did a show with 3 death matches on top and a deathmatch title between Kamitani and Yuko Miyamoto on top. They have a lot of workers on that show, and they do 214 fans. For some of the shows that have no title matches on it, they draw 150 people, and it's obvious that these wrestlers that are on the shows can't make a lot of money off of this.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, it's just one of those deals where, they were one of the ones that were really hit hard in the pandemic. I would say, of all the companies.
That is definitely true.
And, you had the loss last year of Okabayashi. That obviously is a big blow to the heart and soul of the company. They've got a lot of, I thought the main event on the Endless Survivor was a good match. Not great or a banger or anything like that, but it was good. I thought Aoki was really great actually in that match. He had a ton of fire. He's a really great champion for them. But there's just not a lot I think anybody could do at this point.
In comparison to that, Daichi really lacks fire into these days.
Oh, well, I mean, he's never exactly been the most charismatic performer, I would argue. I thought, if you just look at his moves, his strikes were really good.
Yep, they hit.
Yeah, I like that. I like that he's really, when he became the champion a few years ago, he really started to implement more of the Three Musketeers moves into his moveset, and I think that's always a cool finishing stretch. I enjoy that. I don't hate Daichi, but he's not somebody I would say was a very, he didn't grab my heart as a challenger, to say the least. And then, like you said, there's just not a lot there in terms of fire and charisma and stuff. But as a worker, he's all right. But that's about where you end up with this company. It's like
exactly,
you get good wrestling, but there's nothing there to grab you. You have to really try to for them to grab you. And I just don't think there's a lot there. And the deathmatch stuff, I think, has, I don't want to say no value at this point, but when you're doing it with Pondo and company,
it really has no value anymore. And especially when you see, like you've said it with Ito, he's so old right now. He's 48, I think.
He's got a lot of years on his body.
Yeah. We said it on the last show that we did. Mileage is very much a thing in wrestling. 48 years old. Been wrestling.
How long has he been wrestling? He has
25. 25. Just as long as Sekimoto. I think they started on the same day.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember that time Sekimoto did the death match?
Sekimoto actually started 4 months later.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
The deathmatch, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Ito, like I said, he's a legend in the deathmatch scene. Like, there's no doubt about it. But just now, like 25 years in.
Yeah, but anyone they tried to put into the position. I mean, you can say that Yuko Miyamoto and Isami Kodaka worked out as main event draws for a couple of years, but they are outsiders.
Even Takeda.
Takeda, outsider. Ishikawa, outsider.
Yep.
Shuji, that is, of course.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing. Like, nowadays, half these deathmatch guys are really not deathmatch guys. They had to be because they needed bodies. Again, just like New Japan, they need people to do these death matches, and they had to basically force like Ishikawa and then Kamatani into it. And they embraced it as time has gone along, and I have nothing against them as performers at all, but they didn't start up as deathmatch guys. Nope. Kamatani was a strong guy for years, and then they just moved him to the deathmatch, and it is what it is right now. I think that they're in a tough spot. The show, again, I was disappointed by the crowd enthusiasm on the show, but when you've got, again, a lot of these matches, there wasn't a lot there to be excited about, to be honest with you. Like, the main event was good, but again, it wasn't a phenomenal match or anything like that. I don't know. I think that they've got a long way to go, and I don't know at this point what can be done to reverse the trajectory they're on. With New Japan, I think there are actually some obvious fixes that can be made to a lot of their issues that they can really move forward.
If they have at least money to get people into the company.
Exactly. With Big Japan, I think no matter what your ideas are, I think they're in a really tough spot right now. It's going to be hard to reverse where they're going. And maybe if Okabayashi does come back one day, that could provide a spark and they could do something from there. But again, it's one of those things where can you have confidence where they've been the last 5+ years that they're going to turn it around even with him there? I don't. Yeah.
I mean, I like that they give foreigners a chance right now. For example, they have Jacob Crane in from WXW, obviously with Shigehiro Irie being the contact guy for these Japanese companies that bring in European guys right now. They also have Marcus Mathers on their tour right now with Big Japan. I really like that guy.
Tempesta?
Tempesta, yes. He is Bobby Gunn's brother.
He is.
You can see that. Now that for whatever reason, he took his mask off, but that happened. So he's still Tempesta, but you can see that he's Bobby Gunn's brother.
All of that is true.
Yes.
I kind of like the Daibanji stable they did. They've kind of taken a step back recently, but it's good. I mean, I like him a lot as a wrestler in general. So we'll see where they go from there. Yeah, like you said, they get a lot of interesting foreigners from interesting places. Guys who we might not have heard of before. Some people come from interesting places. You got like Zeke and Dino in there.
Yep. They try. You can't say that they don't try. Right. Yeah. Going to another show that happened on that same day, not in Yokohama, but in Tokyo. It was Wrestle Magic 2024, drawing a crowd of 3,512 to Sumo Hall. In the main event, Kaito Kiyomiya defeated Ed Hill, Dr. Wagner Jr. for the title. First question, Dylan, do you think that is a draw that they can live with? And what did you think about the main event?
I don't think it was like, I mean, obviously the good thing about that junior show from a few years ago is that it could never get worse than that. Pretty much. So you can always, if you compare it to that, it's good. On the other hand, this is like half of what New Japan did last month at the same venue. So I'm sure that, you're not going to, or like 3,000 less at the end of the day. So it's like, I wouldn't be jumping for joy, but I also wouldn't necessarily cry over this. I know that they really struggled early on when they had the, because at first this was going to be an all mystery show. And
that obviously got nixed.
They changed their mind really quickly on that when they saw those ticket sales come in, and they're like, oh, so that's a good sign for both men in the main event, Wagner and Kaito, that they were able to add something there. That was good. The draw is fine. What was the second part of your question? I wouldn't say it was bad or good, really. Definitely not good, but I wouldn't say it was terrible either. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. The part of the question was your opinion on the main event.
Oh, main event was good. I got to tell you, Strig, I was a little surprised, and I'm not against rolling with Kaito because they really don't have a choice at this point. There's nobody else like that's kind of youngish to build a company around. But my problem with it isn't him per se. Why?
It's the point in time.
And why did Wagner lose so fast? Yep. Like, what was the point of him being the champion? Like, you had Keno, you built this whole big thing up with him. You undercut him to put the title on Wagner, probably because it was in his contract, because he wasn't going to resign if you didn't give him the belt. Give him all of these breaks, these 4 months off for him in Japan. But you give him the belt. He's doing all right as champion. Like, I wouldn't say he was he was gone for a little while.
That was really weird. So he won the title and then immediately was gone for like a month.
I feel like that whole thing could have been handled a lot better, like for the belt. If you're going to put the title on him, don't leave him for. I don't
think anyone expected that he would win the title because they also had to find a creative way to get him out of the 60-karat gold because he was GHC champion and of course couldn't lose in the middle of the ring.
Yeah. He was gone for a while there. I just thought it was a really poorly thought out and planned idea. Like, I don't mind him being the champion. I just think how they did it and when they did it really took away from Keno, as champion. And so I thought, okay, he was going to have a big title run here. You could do a lot with him. I like him as champion. I think he's a charismatic guy, a good wrestler. Did a lot with the national title last year. And they had a good show. The show that he did, he beat Jake for, he defended the belt against Jake. That was a good show. In Korakuen Hall, did a good number. It felt like they were building some momentum and things were going good. And now you just switch the title, right? Right away.
The moment when they put Kaito Kiyomiya in as his opponent, I thought that he would lose the title. I don't think it's a good moment for Kaito to win back the title.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was also not the moment for Kaito to get another big loss in the main event.
To me, when he came out with the new gear, it was obvious he was going to win on there. That's another thing. But I don't know. I don't think it was the right move to move from Wagner. It's not necessarily about Kaito, but more Wagner. I would have given him a little bit more time with the belt.
Do you feel he's established as the main event level guy now, or did this early loss?
This is the problem with Noah. If not him, who else is established?
Did this early loss hurt him now?
I think that it's
he's super popular. He was before too.
I don't think. And remember the show that he challenged was not a great number. Him and Kendo. He is popular, but it felt like they were building momentum with him, and I just thought they undercut him a little bit, which they also did with Keno, which they do with all their champions, really.
He's not, he's nothing special in that regard.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. It's it didn't help him, but it didn't really hurt him because nobody else can really argue, who is going to be above him now? If you look at their roster. And Kaito may also get undercut in another 2 months, for all we know.
Sure.
And there may be a new champion.
Yep.
And then where are we going to be at? So we don't really know on that end. The match was really good, though. I mean, what would you expect? I mean, Kaito's one of the best when it comes to in-ring performance. Wagner has totally established himself, if nothing else, as a really strong in-ring guy from the last year to this point. I thought, he did a good job. It just was short, but he did a good job as champion. Now, the thing is, Kaito's new look. I was telling Dr. Jonathan this the other day on Patreon. I like that he has what feels like a signature color scheme now. Silver and red. I'm a fan of the All Japan Misawa green, Kobashi orange, the color scheme. I like that personally. I think we've gone away from that a lot in modern wrestling, and I hope this sticks for him. And I definitely think it's an upgrade over what his last couple of looks. To be honest,
feels like he is. But by this point, he has had all colors that there are.
Yeah, he's done everything. I mean, the rainbow gear, it was spectacular and flashy, but I don't think really fit him as a performer. This is more streamlined. It's all silver and red. There is a part of me that makes me feel like somewhat similar to when Nakajima won the belt the first time, and they brought him out in black and silver tights, and I thought that was really lame, compared to where he was. He used to have really cool gear, and it's we're getting you basic black tights. Here it's basic silver tights. And, I mean, the robe is all silver that he comes out with. It's not flashy at all. It's very streamlined and modern. So if this turns into a regular color scheme for him, silver and red, because he hasn't really had that since he lost his original green scheme that he had.
He lost it to Go Shiozaki.
Go. Yeah, Go, who took that from him immediately.
They didn't even have a Misawa colors on a pole match.
No, he just won the belt and won the scheme as well.
Yep.
But the black gear didn't do a lot for me, and the rainbow gear, I don't think fit him overall.
No.
So I think this is an upgrade personally. But the one thing I didn't like about it is that he came out in silver, and what does Wagner come out in? All gold gear. It's it kind of automatically signals you as second place right away. It signals you as second place. So I thought that was kind of funny, but I think it's an upgrade overall, and I love how many times we've been on the show for a long time now. How many times have I said this guy needs a faction around him?
Yeah.
And they finally have gotten around to it. It's been all of these years they haven't done that, and they finally got around to it.
See, it's all rebellion now.
Rebellion against what? You are the champion.
It's what are you rebellion against? What's your rebellion against?
Yeah.
It's rebellion against the Mad Dog, against the guy coming in from the outside, and you're rebelling against that.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. So I will say this: I like what they did. I think Kaito took a step forward on this show with the new scheme, the faction. He feels and the match was really good. I personally liked the Masa and Sugiura match better, but I mean, of course I did. Look at that match, how it was worked. That to me had to be one of the best under 10-minute matches I've seen in years. I thought it was.
I agree.
I couldn't believe the rating. I got to call out the inmates on this one, guys.
Yeah.
7.64. This is a 9, brother. If this had been
this once again one of these cases where people will deduct a point because it's not a main event match?
Maybe so. And it not only was it not a main event, it was third match on the show.
Third on the card, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't just not a main event. It was the third match on the show. So it definitely didn't feel important. I'm not saying it did. But as a match, I watched that match and I came away with the thought, damn it, this man has been totally not pushed at all of late. 53 years old. And he's still the best, man. I'm he's still the best. He proves it again.
Maybe he should have the title.
I mean, they've done it before. Whatever in need. He's bailed everyone out before. I mean, I don't mind Kaito as champion right now. Again, mainly because there are no other options. Again, it's not. I don't think Kaito was well built up to this moment. Really.
We'll see. 2 months down the line, there may be another option.
I actually think Masa might be a title challenger for Kaito after that match, and he was phenomenal in that match too. He is one of the best. Him and Kotage are the top headbutters in Japan right now, in my opinion. when he blasted him with that, he let out that scream. He's got so much fire. I'm ready to stand up myself. It's like, I want to, like, he makes me want to fight, like, watching him. I love these dudes so much. And that match was phenomenal. I love that match so much. If that had more time, if that had been like a main event truly, I think that could have reached like match of the year level. Like, you know, in my opinion. The main event was still good though. I liked it a little bit less than that much. But still very good. You would expect it. Like, you know, again, these guys, even at their worst, I think can't have a bad match. And Kaito specifically, to me, is among the best wrestlers in Japan. So it was a really good main event. And mainly, I like what they did with him, with this changing things. And I've said that for a while. That's another thing I've said. He needs a reboot. Like, what he was doing was not the way. And I think now they've given him at least a chance. I don't love everything about it, but I think they're giving him a chance to at least have a good reboot. Kid as the challenger. One other thing on this show. Shout out to Ninja Mac and Ishikawa in the opener.
That was a good match to open up the show. Fun.
Totally random on top of it. So, yes. You know, you would think about it. Like, two guys.
Kind of the show.
Yeah, it was kind of the theme of the show. And I thought they set the tone really well. I mean, there's part of me that's like, okay, you have this man who you literally weigh twice as much as. You hit him with a Fire Thunder driver off the apron through a table, and it really doesn't mean anything in the match. Like, we just keep going afterwards. You know, there were some days.
That's so insane. But this is the kind of match I've been calling and begging for New Japan to do ever since they had the Never Openweight title. Just do a big guy against a small guy and see what comes out of it.
And I thought Ninja Mac looked great. Like he was able to use his style. We're going to talk about him in the Super Juniors tournament. I thought he did a great job against Ishikawa. And I remember us talking. We got some comments on YouTube as well. Remember we talked about who the video game guy is, like the top flyer of Japan is? And we kind of settled on him. And a lot of the viewers also said him as well, including him. So shout out Ninja Mac, who commented on there and gave love. He didn't say that, but he did thumbs up. He gave a positive emoji to one of our listeners who said that. And I do agree. He is that guy to me. I do agree with that. And I think he did a very fun job in this match. Obviously, you know, he has that GCW background, so he's not afraid of the hardcore stuff. To me, he strikes me as a guy who's like, you could suggest any spot to him, and he ain't turning that down, man. He's going to do anything to be there, and which I love. I love the hunger. And Ishikawa, the big dog, hey, this guy's coming out like he's building some momentum ever since he left All Japan. I like what I've seen from him. The junior tag title match was really good, too. Wolf and Bane have to be one of the best tag teams right now to me.
I love these guys.
Yeah, they're really great.
Spectacular.
Yeah, and among the highlights of the All Together show, that they had, I thought these guys, really good tag team, really great team, and they did some good stuff there. Also, so cool to see Kumano back.
Yes, one of the greatest stories of that show. Hitoshi Kumano, the growing bear of Pro Wrestling Noah, he's finally back. One of the cult favorites of this show, actually.
Yeah, and it was so cool. I had no expectation of that. I had no idea this was even in the works or anything like that. You know, he hasn't been wrestling for a while now, and to see him back was so cool. I hope that he is healthy enough to have a good return, a permanent return, because let's be honest, they're another company. They could use an extra guy they could do something with. Noah is right now. I think he would definitely help the roster. The match itself wasn't anything special, but it was just really cool to see him back overall. So shout out to the growing bear. I love that he was able to return. It's one of those great inspirational stories as well. And, the Marigold match.
I was just going to ask what you think about the Marigold match. I want to give a shout out to Karen Peterson on Post Paraiso. Also a shout out to WH, of course. WH and her, they said that it's pronounced Marigold, and I'm going to go with that going forward. Please listen to Post Paraiso.
Oh, yeah, Post Pro Res. That's a show I've been on a number of times with both WH and Karen. I love them. Their insight into wrestling, obviously. WH has been on this show a ton of times in the past as well. Great sources. And Karen especially works really hard on the Joshi scene and helping give the women some love as well. So good stuff there. Marty Gold doing big things. They did put out a whole video. It's funny because even on their Twitter, they put a video with like the wrestlers saying it's pronounced Marty Gold on there. So they really wanted to emphasize that. I thought that the match itself, I thought they were good. I thought that it was a good match. I do think that it definitely felt like two very different sides on two very different pages throughout some of it. So you know what I'm talking about. I know you watched it. But there was some good to be had. I have to say, I thought Mirai particularly looked really good here in the ring. She's got a new look too, like technically looking good as well. With the new gear, I think this is definitely an upgrade over what she had before stylistically.
I like this team idea of Marigold, where they come out as a team, and they also got these training suits with the numbers on it, like a real sports team. They come out as a team, but then they will have their individual entrances. And I thought it was a nice touch here.
That was, and they felt like really on the same page. You could tell this Marigold deal, like these girls take it very seriously.
Yeah,
like they're trying hard to make this something, and that's very cool. The other team was a mismatched team.
Totally.
But there's a lot of great talent on there. I just don't think they really were able to come together, and I think Sakuya has a long way to go in this gimmick. I would argue, but it was an all right match overall, and the Marigold team looks good. I was really impressed with Mirai particularly, but they're all good. Sakurai gets a chance to grow. Obviously, the other three were like big names in Stardom, and Sakurai was kind of an undercarder, but she gets the bump of being with them. I thought she looked fine in the match for sure. So it was good. You had Yamato make an appearance on the show.
In a real weird way. He was the giraffe on Monday Magic.
Someone had to be the giraffe.
The masked wrestler, Japanese version. It was a fine match.
Yeah, it didn't really hit. I mean, like you compare this to what they did on the DG show with DoA versus Kaito. It's like it didn't come close to that.
No.
Yeah. Yamato, he's one of those guys. Like, I really like what he's doing in DG right now with Minoura, but if he's not motivated, he's like really boring. To be honest with you, he has to be motivated to hit at this point, in my opinion. I don't think this was motivated Yamato in this giraffe match. I would argue the junior title. I thought Alejandro looked really good. They had a good, fast-paced match. I have to say, there was this one move that Daga did I want to criticize in this match. It was a pretty good match overall. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was pretty good.
I think Alejandro was pretty good in this match.
I thought he was really good.
In comparison to what he got to do in Pro Wrestling Now, this was a great opportunity for him, and I think he did well.
What about Daga?
I don't really get the idea of Daga as junior champion. He has been champion for quite some time, hasn't he?
I think he won it at the end of last year.
Yeah, early November actually, and he's been champion for quite a while. I mean, he's not bad. I might also say he's doing well for himself. I mean, he's the most constant junior champion, I would say, in the last couple of years, when you exclude Hayata, of course.
And that's the thing. If you count him, if you compare him to his predecessor, yes, he's clearly an upgrade. Yeah. But I will criticize one move in this match. There was a spot they were both on the apron, and Daga flipped inside the ropes and did a power slam on the apron. I thought it looked so stupid, like for Alejandro, because he had to run and basically run right into this weird power slam. I thought it was like a super dumb spot on Daga's part and Alejandro's. But as a match, though, it was pretty good, I would say. Yeah. Not special, but pretty good. So overall, we were talking about it off the air, 6.71 on cage match rating for the show. I think that's about fair. I will say that I did like that, at least with the main event, it felt like they took a step ahead, and it felt like stuff happened on this show. But I didn't think it was a great show overall. It was very long, but I would say the best matches were the opener and the main event and the Kiyomiya and Sugiura match. Like, that was my favorite. I think a lot of people may favor the main event. But for me, if you want to see hard-hitting, badass, Sugiura's in it. That's all you need to say. Like, he's still there. He's still the one you know and love. He's still that dude. Even now, I promise. And Masa's still great, too. So, really good show, but not great, I would say.
Yeah, and if you love the show, I can get that, especially if you watched it live, because there still was a sense of surprise left on this show with some X's on the card. So they were real surprises in the end. I mean, you could have maybe called Tenkoji because Kojima has been ex in Noah before. But still, though, the surprises were good. They were positioned well, and after all, it was a fun spectacle and a long show, especially with so many different things that Pro Wrestling Noah has to offer. So if you like that variety, that is definitely a show that you probably liked.
And that is a big point in its favor. I mean, you had the main event was the epic title match. You had the hard-hitting badass match, coming in there. You had a Joshi match on the show. You had a hardcore match to start out the show, like a lot of crazy moves there. You had, Dragon Gate guy coming in. You had the shoot stylist coming in, like Sato and Sakuraba and Sasaki. And I like that match, by the way. That was a pretty good match. I didn't think it was great or anything, but I thought they did a pretty decent job in there. Yeah. What's with this storyline with Taniguchi and Oka right now going on in Noah? I don't know, but I'm for it. I think Oka has a lot of great potential too. I really like him a lot. You had Tajiri coming out like with all gray hair, like all of a sudden out there. So you had a little bit of everything on the show.
He knocked O'Hara out cold.
Yeah, he did on there, and I mean, Jake was in that match too. It was Jake and Tajiri. O'Hara and Marufuji were on the other end, but
total eclipse, baby.
Yeah, total eclipse. Yeah, exactly. They even called it the reunion match, right? And they're like on the thing. So this total eclipse lore will never die as long as Tajiri is around. It was fine, but whatever on that one. But yeah, an interesting show. I'm glad we talked about it. Let me ask you this question before we move on. If you really compare the companies right now in Japan, they feel like they have a little bit more momentum than pretty much every other company, to be honest with you, at the moment.
Yep. They caught some attention in late March, early April with their shows that they did.
Yeah.
They had good Kurken shows in March. And what I said, they do have a form of variety that works for them. New Japan also has a form of variety, but they also have the House of Torture, which kills all the variety on their shows for some part of it. And their variety doesn't always work out. But for Noah, apparently it does work out for their fan base. And much like you said, this is half of the audience that New Japan did for the last Sumo show, but this is still more than other companies would do in this building.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that for sure. I think that, Noah right now, I just like that it feels like they're building some stuff, whether it was Oka, the Kotage and Akiyama thing, I think is great.
It feels like you can point to where the direction might lead us right now.
Yeah, that's a lot better than the stuff we've seen before. Like overall,
it's an improvement.
Yeah, and I think that they still make no mistake. I think they've got a ways to go, but I'm happy that they had a show like this. Again, I might not have loved it the way some people did, but I agree with what you were saying too, with the surprise aspect and the variety and just everything happening. There was a lot that happened on this show, and I think that's a great sign. With both shows, yeah, this was long, but it did feel like most of it was worthwhile in some way. Most shows nowadays, it's like 90% of the show was filler tags, and hopefully you get one or two good matches out of it. Here, at least, it felt like a real full show, and hopefully there'll be something where now that we've had this, and now that they are warming up a bit, hopefully Noah will be on the docket more for us going forward, and hopefully they can earn that spot look a little bit more.
Let us go to a company then that also feels like they have some momentum coming off of Dead or Alive 2024, and that's DRAGONGATE. They ran the Aichi Prefectural Gymnasium in Nagoya, drawing a little bit over 3,000 fans for the show that had the big main event, the hair versus mask steel cage survival 5-way match. And much like you were surprised about the rating for Kitamiya and Sugiura, I'm a bit surprised about the rating for the cage match, but I can also see why that is, because it was a long match and some portions of the match dragged for some minutes. I want to say that. But the overall feeling that I had after the match was that it was also almost a cathartic moment. I was so happy when the show ended because all the storyline strings they pulled together in the last couple of months led to this moment, led to this match. It led to Hio going into the match to save Jackie Funky Kamei, and that was what he did with one of the greatest escapes in all of professional wrestling history in cage matches. He catapulted him up to the top with a rope. That was amazingly done.
Yeah.
And it was also the moment of victory for Hio, but he didn't win, he lost. But the victory that he got was that Jackie Funky Kamei not only was able to escape, but he also won him over. And he tried to win him over for the faction, for Big Hug, for months now. And he was rejected a couple of times. It's usually in wrestling, when you have a group and you get rejected, you will turn against the guy. But that's not what Hio did. This was a story that you can really feel. Because sometimes we want these guys to be our friends, but they don't feel like that they should be our friends right now because they have another friend group going, and it doesn't seem like that these friends groups that they match. But Hio just wouldn't let it go, and he went after it, and he always saved Kamei. So that was such a great storyline, and you felt so vindicated if you followed along since when did that? Since November, basically, when Hio turned against Zebrats and turned to Luis Mante. So Jackie Funky Kamei escapes, Jason Lee, KZ, and Shun Skywalker, they escape from the match, and this had Hio left, and he lost his hair, and on top of that, everybody that won the match had to shave a portion of Hio's hair, including KZ and including Jackie Funky Kamei, who reluctantly did it, which got another super emotional reaction from everybody watching. And then there was the hug after the match. KZ said to Jackie Funky Kamei, "Okay, Jackie, I see it now. You have to go. Leave Natural Vibes. We're good. We're friends. Go on to join Big Hug." And Jackie Funky Kamei, I don't want to say was free from Natural Vibes at that point, because he was he wasn't like he's a prisoner of Natural Vibes.
He chose to go there in January.
Exactly.
He chose to go there in the first place.
One of the more satisfying leaves of a group in pro wrestling ever, I want to say, because this felt like a moment which both groups benefited from. Because Natural Vibes could get a new direction, and they did, and Big Hug finally became stable. So, realistically saying, this match, including the Jason Lee turn to Zebrats, was a giant W for the company.
Yeah, it was a masterclass of storytelling and booking by whoever set this up. Deserves a lot of praise. Because all 5 men got wins in this match. Like, every single person got an upgrade in some form. Jason won the match, ultimately. Like, automatically, that's a big thing. Shun had the stuff after the match with the heel stuff where he was the spotlight guy laughing and going crazy in the haircut. KZ won because Vibes is back together. I mean, and that's another thing. You have to watch the earlier match on the show, Jay and UT, to get into that. Jay taking the loss, which was a stunner. But we had done a long segment on Dramatic Dream Dragons, and like this is my last show on there, talking about this Dead or Alive. We did a whole review on the show, but we talked about all of these potential outcomes to the cage match. And one of them I had put forth was that Jay could turn, turn to Zebrats. there, similar to how Jason did, and they teased it here, where it was Shun
teased it
and
masterfully.
Oh, and I was totally enthralled by that part. I thought that was like the highlight of the match in a lot of ways. Besides Jackie's like amazing escape that they set up with Hyo and Jackie, was so good. But when he chopped KZ and was about to turn, I was like so like excited to see what was going to happen next. And when he did, it was a fake turn. It was like such a great moment. The crowd loved it.
Yep.
And a lot of these DG crowds, we talked about the BJW crowd earlier. They're not hot for a lot. A lot of these Dragon Gate fans. But in this match, when that happened, you could hear them. Like, they let you know what was going on. I thought Shun was like the straw that stirred the drink in all of this once again, much like last year's match. I think he's so vital to
Yes.
this company in terms of, like, I've never, like, both of his title reigns, I wasn't a big fan of, both babyface and heel. But I think he's so vital in getting everyone else up to a certain level. We saw it last year with Monte, and I think here he brought everybody up once again. I thought he was so important and just a great charismatic performer that is hard to replicate. But KZ got the win. Jay saved him. Vibes is back. They've been doing this storyline for months now with Vibes being in disarray.
Yeah.
And we finally got a great payoff. Like, that was so amazing. And it was just a feel-good moment. It wasn't some big fracturing. I mean, they lost Jackie at the end. But so it was a bittersweet ending. But I thought it was great how they did it. Jackie got to go to Big Hug, some more resolution to his year-long storyline of 2024. They did some great stuff. Jay won because he advanced moving forward, coming in there. So you had all of these guys, even people that weren't in the match, got wins like in this. I thought it was so good. It's one of those things I think if you just watch it and you haven't followed DG, I don't think it will hit you as much. Mm-hmm. And my one criticism, I think it worked, like, in the grand scheme of things. If you count the post-match as a part of the match, I think it all worked how it should have. But I think just in terms of a match, the last year's, like, the Kobe World cage match was better in that I think this match would have been better as a match if Shun was the last one in instead of Jason. Like, at the end of the day. I think he made so much, like, that would have been such a diabolical moment. Like, for him to continue his storyline, that I think the stakes would have been raised that much more, just like last year. Here, like, Jason got the win, and it was cool. And I thought Jackie was the MVP, though, on the outside. He was just so enthralled by this match and so emotional. The work, I still don't love Hyo. Like, once they got down to those two, and it was like an in-ring match, I don't really think he's that great in the ring compared to Jason or some of these other guys, or like Monte last year I thought had a phenomenal emotional performance. But as a character, I thought this was Hyo's shining moment. I would compare this, and again, Jackie again was phenomenal. With cutting his hair, Shun making him cut his hair. Like, total supervillain move here from Shun. And I would compare this to when Sonata saved Naito at the Dome, where he wasn't like a great champion or a great wrestler to me, but when he did that did more for his character than the entire title reign. And since then, I got to say, I think Sonata has improved this year. I thought he's been a pretty decent, like, one of the more solid workers of that company as time has gone along, even with the injury woes that he's had. And I think I'm hopeful that Hyo will get this amazing character moment, and he's able to spin that into improved in-ring work going forward as well. So
he's definitely getting the chances to.
Yeah, and I hope that this does lead to Jason, like, going for the white belt. I think that the end game of everything would be for the Brave Gate to be Jason and Jackie going for the belt at Kobe World. I think if they had a title on the line,
that feels like the direction.
Yeah, and Hyo, I mean, like I said, he's very popular. There's no doubt about that. Like, they should have something for him at Kobe World. I just think that the belt would be better used in that particular feud with Jason and Jackie. And Hyo, maybe he can find a rival like that they could do that, or maybe they could just drag this Jason thing out to Hyo overall if they want to. It'll be interesting to see because I think at this point, I'm not personally a fan of his wrestling right now, but you can't tell me this Brave Gate hasn't been more prestigious in a long time.
Yeah,
since he's had it. I mean, he's made it that way. I love Jason as a worker, but his title reign wasn't anything to be, hailed about it. He just wasn't pushed enough. And I think now they've managed to push him as a main eventer on the level of Monte. And I think that they've done a great job with him. The belt has gained from it. And hopefully they have a big plan for that coming into Kobe World.
Next title defense is on the 17th of May. Hoholun challenges because they have
in Hong Kong.
Yeah, the Hong Kong double shot coming up. The main event of the second Hong Kong show actually is Dragon Kid and Hyo against Jason Lee at Ishin. So might be setting up something there.
Yep. See, the perfect format.
Because they have a double header coming up on, of course, they have the triple shot, the usual triple shot at the end of May for BB Hulk and KZ and their homecoming in Sapporo. And then they have a double shot in Tokyo on June 4 and June 5 with the hair versus hair match that they set up on the follow-up show to Dead or Alive, the next Kurken that happened on May 9. Kota Minura challenged Yamato to a hair versus hair match, and Yamato didn't really want to do it, but said, yeah, okay, fine, I'm going to do it. They also have Minorita's return match, which apparently is going to be against Gianni Valletta. And also they set up a defense for the Dreamgate title for Luis Mante. He is going against Benkei. And that is another question for you, Dylan, resulting from Dead or Alive. The state of the Dreamgate in comparison to what we just raved about, it's been quite some time since they had a really compelling story for a Dreamgate challenger that is not just the flavor of the month. And Johnny Valletta very much was the flavor of the month. I mean, they built him up since January, since he arrived in Dragon Gate. They built him up as a challenger throughout the tag league, and now here he got his match, got his first loss handed to him, got attacked by Minorita in a Kurikan Hall. Feels like Minorita is going to be the second guy to go over him if they do the match. What do you do with the Dreamgate?
I thought that match, Dead or Alive, was like a big fail, to be honest with you. Like, okay, I agree that what has been said that the match wasn't as bad as it could have been. Like, it wasn't a terrible or a train wreck or anything like that. It wasn't. But that's not the point of this match, to me, is to have a good match. The point is to put over Monte slaying the Beast. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what this match should have been. And to end it on a roll-up, that didn't accomplish anything. Like,
I have zero clue. I mean, I liked the match for what it was, because for Gianni Valletta, it was a great opportunity, and it probably was one of his best matches, but that's still not like it's a good match or anything. I have no idea
they've used him well.
Yeah, they've used him well, but I have no idea why Mante can't just win with his Super Tigre, with his finishing move.
Exactly. That's how this should have ended. Like, he drops Valletta and looks like a great champion. Like, I was for that, even though a lot of people were down on the match. I think they've used Valletta very well, played to his strengths a lot, and they finally give him a big match. I've said from the beginning, that is the end, like one logical end game to him in Dragon Gate, is to build to that title match and have your guy get put over by beating this monster guy. But then you just do the roll-up. I didn't like that at all. I thought it totally undercut whatever good. And again, the match was like slightly below average, like, which is a great match for Valletta standards at the end of the day. Like, it was a match. It wasn't anything anyone will call any kind of. It's a 4.78 rating on Cage Match right now, which I think is pretty fair.
Second, sure. Sorry.
I was saying, like, they failed on what they should have tried to do, which was put Monte over, and I think this title reign, it's not great. Let's just call it spade a spade on it.
Second best match of the show, and you can argue that wrestling-wise, it definitely was. The best match on the show was the Open the Twin Gate title match with some magic. You said it before, some magic between Naruki Doi, Alejandro, Kaito Kiyomiya, and Dragon Kid there. It's incredible how good Doi and Dragon Kid still are at this point of their careers. It's fantastic. Love Team No Hug. And they got a great match out of Alejandro and Kiyomiya, who won the GHC title the night before, but much like he did not wear the twin gate to his Noah matches, he did not come out as the GHC Heavyweight Champion because it was not his role on this show. He was not the Heavyweight Champion. He was the Tag Team Champion with Dragon Gate. So completely fine, in my opinion, that he didn't come out with the title. This was a great tag team match. Don't let you fooled by the rating of Cage Match. It was better than that.
Yeah, they underrated it for sure. This is another one, the inmates. Maybe there's something to what you said about like non-main event matches getting a little underrated lately. Because I thought this was better than the final of the Rey de Parejas, personally. Like, I thought this was a great match.
I will agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought this was a great match. Kaito was phenomenal, as he always is, in the ring. And listen, when this match happened, I know we remember when DoA cut that big promo on them and was like basically saying like, you guys suck as champions. Like as soon as they said that, I knew they were going to win. Like you can't tear down the champs and say how much they suck and then just have them win anyway. Like, as an outsider. So you had to have the Team No Hug win, which I'm totally fine with. Man, Dragon Kid is amazing. Like in the ring, like for his age, this guy is as old as Ryuji Ito.
I was just gonna say that same thing. That blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, he was amazing in this match.
Sure, he hasn't had a career of grueling death matches behind him, but man, he's been on the grind of Dragon Gate for over 20 years now.
He's a guy that was really one of those guys we talked about, one of those innovators, like back in his day, like one of the guys who was bringing things forward in high-flying style. And I think that they did a great job here as a team. DoA, very charismatic. This has to be a big win for him. I mean, you're right that this wasn't his role in the show, but if you look at them, DoA stepped to the GHC champion, and it didn't feel out of place or wrong. Or anything like that. It felt like he was on his level as a main event guy, and I thought they worked it in a really good way. I really love the team of Alejandro and Kaito. I think they did a great job, despite any complaints about them not wearing the title. If you look at their in-ring output, when they got chances, they did good every single time. And I am happy they're still together in their faction as well, too. I think they work really well together as a team. I think Alejandro was always one of the more underrated guys in Noah. And I think the match itself was really great. Check this one out for sure. Again, I think the cage match, you'll gain a lot more from it. I can see why it's not rated. I mean, it's still rated pretty high, but it's not rated like 9, blind-blowing levels, because I think you need to have followed the story to really get everything you can get out of it. This, you really don't have to follow the story. You can just watch this match, and I think you'll be really impressed. So, underrated match for sure. Check it out, guys.
Before we go to All Japan, let me get some more recommendations from Golden Week. One more thing before you get to that, I want to say one thing here. I wanted to bring it because we didn't actually talk about the faction that much on the Noah. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you think of All Rebellion? Yeah, Kaito, Keno, Alejandro, and who was the other guy? Oh, it's I forgot the name, but it's surely Kai Fujimura.
Yeah, he had his new gimmick.
Crystal Ball is his name. Yeah.
Okay, Crystal Ball. Okay, very, very, very good there. So, what do you think of this group here they put together?
It's one of my favorite layouts of a pro wrestling stable. We have 2 heavyweights, 2 junior heavyweights, 2 sets of tag teams. It's a perfect match for Japanese pro wrestling. With Keno and Kaito Kiyomiya, you have a completely new direction because these two have been rivals ever since. With Alejandro and Cristobal, you have a new tag team for the junior division that probably is going to win the junior tag title rather soon, because they think a lot of Alejandro lately. So I think it's a win for Pro Wrestling Noah. And I think it's also a good idea that Roy Oiwa is not a part of that group, because it sets a lot in motion storyline-wise between him and Kaito Kiyomiya.
Yeah, absolutely. They've already started to tease that. Like, Oiwa was pissed at Kaito.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, exactly. Very easy story to tell, and I love it. Keno, I think this is definitely a step down, like, in a lot of ways, to be secondary to Kaito.
That's true.
And I mean, it's fine. I mean, they clearly didn't believe in him, like, like for whatever reason. Like, when you look at how they booked his title run and then losing so fast. So if you're not going to believe in him, you might as well get the most out of you as you can out of him. And I think this is a great role for him. If you're not going to have him as a main event guy, him as kind of like, you could have Kaito on the YouTube show. You have Keno really inject a lot into him and bring a lot of the fire out of Kaito that he has already. I don't know how I feel about them teaming, but I do agree with what you said about it being a new direction at least. So I don't hate it. I want to see how it plays out. I reserve judgment. When I first saw it, I was like, like they're teaming after all of these years. I don't know. But it could work. Like, I'm not dismissing it at all. I really like the two juniors teaming. I mean, they're brothers. Like, they should have a natural pairing,
Yes.
Yes. Like they've never really done it. Like, they've never really done anything with either of these guys. But they're both immensely talented, and I can't wait to see what they can do and add to the division. And Kaito is champion. They're giving him a fresh start. Like I said, I would have taken any faction. Him and Keno kind of threw me for a little bit, but I'm not down on it. I want to see how it plays out overall. So I did want to mention that a little bit when we were talking about Kaito and Alejandro now in the new group together. I'm really happy that they kept them all together. Again, more good stuff for Noah and Dragon Gate. I do agree with what you said. They built some momentum after this Dead or Alive show. Because for a while, it just felt like, I mean, those Rey de Perea shows, Strigga, they weren't blowing me away, to say the least.
Me neither. But actually, great segue on your part. Yeah. You said they kept them all together. And one of the few real outcomes of a terrible draw for the first All Together show under this new banner of the United Japan Pro Wrestling organization, that I feel like that it's a tarnished brand now after this terrible look in Nippon Budokan.
Well, let's say what it is, Strigga. The fans were united in not going to the show.
Going, yeah.
Yes.
The fans were united. And the one real notable outcome of that show is what we said earlier, Gabe Kidd challenging Kaito Kiyomiya for the GHC title. What do you make of that?
Has there been... And I will say it is true that they had the big in-a-way boxing match at the Dome on the same day, which, that's
the question why they scheduled that show. Didn't Tanahashi sit down and say, we're going to get better in our scheduling?
He forgot. And on the same day as an All Japan show, a member of United Japan, but
also, TJPW also.
Yeah, and in a way, I think he like sold out the Dome or something in his boxing match.
Something like that.
Yeah, so it was like a big draw for like, in a way, he's a huge star in Japan. So that they messed up, to say the least. But I do agree, maybe it's something they need to think about a little bit better. Maybe the boxing match was scheduled later. Like they said, all right, all together's doing a show. We're gonna do a show on the same day, just to put them down, put those wrestling geeks down on there. But yeah, I mean the number was terrible, no doubt. The show, the thing is, it's proof. Like this style of show does not work. At the end of the day, you can't say last year was because of a boxing match. That show was better than this, but it still was bad overall. And so they're not this. We all work together stuff, that's not a draw on its own anymore. And we were talking about it off the air. You look at this card and you tell me one drawing match on this card. There isn't any. At the end of the day. The multi-man style
I wanted to make a dramatic pause at that moment, Dylan, but you ruined my pause.
Well, we don't got time for that. We got too much to talk about for dramatic pauses on the end. But the fact is, there was nothing on this show that anybody could care about. We could hope there could be good matches. The main event was a good match. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It was a really good match. But it's not anything that has any implications towards anything. It was just random guys teaming up, and they're all of a younger generation, so they kind of go together. Okay, that's not enough to really get anybody to care about it. I do like that they at least took the time to build something out of this with the Jake Lee stuff in New Japan. And now that you told me off the air that him and Naito will have a singles match on the next All Together show, which I think is a great thing. They need to realize this alone is not going to get it done. You need to have big matches. The days of all multi-man tags, that's over with. You've got to have big matches to draw.
I want to add to that point, actually.
Yeah.
They Wrestle Universe. They did Cyberfight Fest twice inside Tama Super Arena. And both times it drew less than 5,000 fans in this enormous building. Right. And they didn't do one afterwards. And one of the questions was why didn't they do that? Didn't the companies want to work together on another show? But it might just as well be what you said, that these multi-man shows just don't work. They don't draw. And this is another argument for that.
I think this one's much more egregious than those shows, because the problem with those shows is that those companies aren't that popular. Ultimately, they tried to make, they had title matches and stuff on those shows. They try to have big matches, but they're not at the level where either company can really do big shows like that, especially at that time overall. And it's not because of the multi-man tags or the booking of the shows. I think they tried to make a good show, but these last two, these all-together shows with New Japan involved, they could have had big matches, but instead we just had multi-man matches for them, and that doesn't work anymore. The Cyberfight Fest, like I said, I just don't think either of those companies could do 10,000 fans at this point, no matter what they did. That's right. Unless Muto retires again, they might be able to do that. But on their own, I just don't think either of those companies are strong enough. Here, and like I said it before, with Moxley as champion, things have been down in even New Japan.
It's definitely right that they had title matches, but I think what it proves is that they are looking for the synergy between the companies, and that just is not there.
Well, that's the thing. The thing is, even New Japan right now isn't a strong company, so they're trying to artificially inflate themselves by all working together.
Exactly.
But it's like the fans aren't buying it. they see through this crap now. And
exactly. It does not come off it doesn't come off natural like the interpromotional feuds of the 90s and early 2000s felt like.
Oh, that stuff was way better than now. And even here, to be honest, they're doing a little. Again, we'll see how this Jake and Naito thing plays out. I think Naito in a main match is the right idea. I think he's the one guy that you could say I think he's truly the one major draw left in Japan at this point. I would say, I don't think there's anybody else on his level at the moment. So you're putting him in a major match. We'll see how this intra-promotional feud goes with Jake. I don't think it's that, to me, it's not that interesting what they've done so far. It's nothing against either of them as performers. I just don't think we've had any, mega hot angles or anything. They put over Jake in this match, which was kind of surprising that he got the pin at the time. But I don't think there's been any, a huge brawl or the fans were, going crazy over these two or a big angle. I don't think we've had that with these guys.
It's interesting. For the next All Together show, I'm just looking at the venue. They are running the Hokkaido Prefectural Sports Center that New Japan usually runs for the G1 Climax. They did run it twice in February of this year with 5,355 and 3,231. But if I'm not mistaken, they're not going to the venue for the G1 this year. They're not going. There's no G1 show scheduled for Hokkaido. This is the big show that's scheduled for Hokkaido this summer.
And like I said, with Naito on top, I think it'll be pretty successful.
Yep.
I think that's the kind of match you need for these shows now to really get a grasp of the fans. And again, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. I guess you get some intrigue for Jake coming in on Naito. I hope they could have a big angle between the two that can really get people talking. It was really my ask. I think it's an interesting match on paper. Do you think that You think that Jake could get like a G1 run out of this, or like be a long-term guy?
I said it earlier on the show. I think one of the reasons that Naito is not getting the title match now with Moxley, in which he would have won the title back, I would say, because New Japan wouldn't have said that Naito loses 2 times in a row against Moxley.
Yeah.
So I think that Jake Lee wins, and off of that gets a run in the G1 Climax. They will have an established guy who beat Naito. And much like you said, they need guys in their tournament. Jake Lee's right there. He's not the greatest wrestler, but he certainly is a wrestler that has main event experience, unlike some of their talent on their cards. So
yeah, vast majority.
That qualifies Jake Lee for a run, I guess.
I was surprised at how negative the reaction was among New Japans of him coming in. I just said, here's my response to that. Look at your roster right now. Like we went through it a couple of months ago. Like, this roster sucks. Like, there's nobody that's any good on there practically. Like, outside of it, I mean, there are some good guys, obviously. But in terms of star power, there's not a lot there right now. I think he's better. Like, if you look at Jake, I would say he's a top 10 heavyweight in New Japan. Like, if you put him up against the roster.
And that's not really a quality sign for Jake Lee. I mean, no, he's decent.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. But like, he's better than most of the roster, though. Like, that's You know, like, that's the thing. It says more about the roster than him. That he's such a top guy. You know, and I think he could slot in there into that. You know, I would say a top 5 upside in the company. Like, if things go right. Who would you put ahead of him in New Japan right now?
Shingo Takagi.
He's a never guy.
Tomohiro. Just you were saying about a quality guy, right?
No, I'm saying like
star level guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's okay. Top 5 is okay. Yeah.
In terms of in ring, yeah. But the thing is, like, they never pushed like Ishii and these guys. Like, we just had Goto lose to Chase Owens in a match, you know, on there. So yeah, in ring wise, yeah. Well, even then, in ring wise, like
in ring wise, there's Ishii, there's Takagi, there's Zanada, there's Taichi.
I would put Jake ahead of those guys. I think, like, so, maybe Sonata's had a good year so far. Maybe he could be up there. Taichi, I mean, I don't know. I think I'd take Jake. Yeah, Zach would be another one. Okay, so we got a handful of guys there. Yep. I think Goto and Yoshihashi, I'd put above Jake. And that's about it. Like, really, when it comes to heavyweights. Yeah. Right. So again, we're the same way. Like, in ring or star power, he's like 10-5 range in New Japan. But that's not a bad get for them. So I like it. I think it's cool. Like, I think that's more interesting than anything you can do with Noah.
Exactly. And
he's done. He's already been the champion.
And it's a nice change of direction for New Japan.
Yeah.
Do you think? That's the question I want to throw at you because I'm just thinking about it. Do you think there's a chance that he might have gotten the position that Nakajima would have had?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. That guy, you can't predict what's going on. Like, with him, like, who knows where he's going to wind up or what he's doing. Like you said, maybe they wanted him, and maybe something happened, and maybe they just said, look, we can't bring this guy in. You know, like we can't risk it. So let's go. Tanahashi has praised Jake before when they worked together, when All Japan and New Japan worked together. And Jake has been like going on about wanting to be the G1 for years. So they might say, look, let's get this guy. He's a former champion. He wants to be here. We know he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's a good guy. Like, let's give him a run here before we bring in this kind of, you know, he might be a head case. You know, he might be seen as that. Like, we can't afford to have him in the locker room. Like, we're already on the edge. We can't have more people leave. No, we can't have more people leave than we already have. And we don't even know if he's going to do anything with All Japan. We just don't know what he's doing right now when it comes to Nakajima. So, yeah, you tell me, Strigger. Like, what do you think's going through that man's head right now?
Zero idea. I think it's for the better that New Japan didn't bring him in.
And that's the thing. Like, if you claim to know what he's thinking, you're lying. Like, nobody knows. So, you know, at the end of the day, we would be lying to the listeners if we claimed that we could have any possible knowledge of what he's thinking right now. And
Now that we're at it, Dylan, I just said we're going to transition to Ultimate, but now that we're at it with New Japan, we might as well stay.
Okay.
First of all, I did not watch the Resurgence show from this past weekend. It has a fair amount of good ratings, 7.48 cage match with a 8.15 for Moxley and Umino, and what's the second best match? Gabe Kidd against Eddie Kingston, slightly ahead of Zack Sabre versus Yoshi Tanahashi. Did you watch the show?
Yeah, I did watch it. To me, I see a cage where somebody gave it a 1 out of 10 this show. There. To me, I thought the main event was pretty good. Moxley and Umino, I think Umino definitely did more than Narita. I think the layout kind of caused Shota to struggle a little bit, in my opinion. Especially going 35 minutes almost. I thought that was a big stretch, to have him go in. But to me, I just thought it wasn't a good idea to do this match because it wasn't very interesting, in my opinion. There was no way Umino was winning this belt, at the end of the day. And I think when you're doing this epic type of match, pretty much, I think that you need a lot more in it. And I think that Shota is all right, in terms of trying to bring fire to the table. But I do think there were parts of this match I could sense a little bit of frustration from him, that maybe he wasn't happy with how things are going. But I thought he did a pretty decent job. They tried to do some stuff early on with Shota going after the leg a little bit. It was okay. But they brought it in by the end where if you're a fan of cut off you kind of like you were saying earlier about the one match, cut off the first 10, 20 minutes and kind of get to the finishing stretch, I think you probably would have a good match with this. But I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was anything bad either. It was probably worth a watch just for the championship factor, but I would go higher. It would be a 6 or a 7 to me rather than a great match. And nothing else on the show is worth watching, in my opinion.
Great review. Thank you.
Maybe the Zack and Tanahashi match was pretty good. Again, I kind of like Tanahashi working more of the technical style, that he kind of showed against Nemeth. I thought they did it again here with Zack. I thought that was a good match, So check those two matches out. The women's match was pretty good too.
It's usually good on these strong shows.
Yeah, I mean, with Stephanie as the champion, You're getting good matches pretty much all the time. And this was Windsor is not the level of an Azumi, but I thought they pulled it together and had a pretty good match there. Good showing for Alex Windsor as well. So you got 3 pretty decent matches. The Kid and Kingston match didn't do anything for me personally. I just think Kid is way, and we talked about it. And let's just be honest here. I think I will give them this. When they announced that match versus Kaito, I think you can make the argument that Gabe was the worst heavyweight title challenger in history, in kayfabe. What has he won ever in his career? Nothing. He just lost to Shingo in that match. Yeah. He's done nothing, and he's getting a world title shot. But at least here they had a big Kingston, and that gives him a little bit of a push to hang on to, champion versus champion type of deal. I still wouldn't do that, but if you're Noah, you want to have a New Japan guy in the main event. He's a guy they probably don't mind losing to Kaito. And
that's key. That's key. That's what they need right now. They need a New Japan guy that loses to Kaito Kiyomiya. And they've, of course, faced last year in the G1.
And their match was that was one of the kids' best matches, in my opinion. Yep. I thought that was the time where things really felt truly out of control and natural. And maybe they'll do that brawling style again here and have a great match. They definitely proved that it's possible, and I'm rooting for them. But I just thought it was a weird title challenger. But with this win over Kingston, I think it gives them something, at least. So I'm happy that they put the belt on him to give him that win.
For the other openweight title, I am really happy that Hinari gets another shot. Hinari versus Shingo last year, that was all fire. And
that is another match that had such great, that showed me what I think Gabe was going for, in my opinion. That Hinari match, that felt so epic and violent and just such a different style than you see in any other match. That was 40 minutes, their match, to be fair. about
I'm
it.
hopeful that Hinare can pull it off because he would really deserve a title run.
Bring back, what was the name of that stipulation they had? The Triangle of Death or something like that?
The triad match, I think.
The Triad match. Bring it back.
Yes.
Like, that match ruled. Even the match with Taichi wasn't as good as the Hinare match, but it was still really good there. Like, bring it back. Let these guys brawl for an hour straight and just destroy each other for all of mankind's benefit. And Hinare's champion would be fine. I mean, the thing with Shingo, I like him as never champion. I think that's a decent role for him, but it doesn't feel like there's much upside. I mean, it's hard when you've already been the world champion to go to the never title and to not feel like a downgrade, kind of, but that's kind of where he's at. I think with Hinare, it would feel like an improvement for his status if he won the never title, though. Yes. And with Shingo, it's just kind of like, hey, I'm Shingo. I'm doing these good, like really good. Again, nothing wrong with his work. It's just these mid-card matches, ultimately. With one of their many, many titles that change hands.
In a perfect world, Dylan, they would just unify the two openweight singles titles they have, but of course that's not going to happen because it's New Japan.
And I like him. I will say the one good thing about his title reign is at least there's some stability to his title. Every other title switches hands every month. He's at least been the champion for a couple of months now.
Who, Shingo?
Yeah.
Little over 1 month.
That's more than most. That's the point. So change. That's another thing. If he loses it, it'll be another quick title reign. Like there's no stability to anything in this company right now. It's just terrible, terrible ideas up and down.
Isn't Sho the most stable champion right now?
He won in February, so he's got a couple of months under him.
Oh, Sho is the leader of the band now.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the point that we've reached.
Yeah.
So, the Dominion card. Going to that. Yeah. I said before, the never title match. Shingo Takagi defense against Hinare. And then we have
that'll be good.
Another good match coming up. Tomohiro Ishii challenges Jeff Cobb for the TV title.
That'll be great.
A 4-way for the... Oh no, we're going that route again. It's a 4-way match for the IWGP Tag Team and for the Strong Openweight title. And Phantasmo y Coleo, the Strong Champions, go against the IWGP Champions, Chase Owens and Kenta, and against Bishamon, and against TMDK and Shane Haste and Mikey Nichols. Yeah, it's an elimination tornado 4-way tag. The last remaining team will be the winner and apparently once again double champions. Great.
Who could care about this match?
On the topic of who could care about this match, that's also the topic of the next one, because it's Yuya Uemura defending the KIOPW against, you guessed it, Great Khan.
He's been the most consistent champion.
Yuya?
No, Okan.
But Yuya is the champion right now.
He is?
Yes, he won it.
Damn, I totally
he won it at the end of April at one of these pre-shows to Wrestling Dontaku.
Well, I definitely didn't watch that. So
I did actually. It was fine.
I try not to watch either of these men's matches very
much.
It
was the match. I don't know if you've seen the GIF online. It was the match in which Okan ate the lemon.
So what kind of match is this going to be? You think this
There's no rules attached to that yet, but I'm very certain that there is going to be a watermelon in play, and one of the guys has to eat a full watermelon in one fell swoop.
But we'll see if this plays out how you predict. I think that's a very bold idea on your part. I think we're going to have to wait and see. Mark it down, people. We need to call out STRIGGA. Yes. If there's no melons involved in this.
No melanin, yeah.
Then we gotta call them out on there.
Of course, we have the finals of the Best of the Super Junior on that card, and Moxley against Evil. Not a card that lights my heart on fire.
No. Cobb and Ishii could be a good match.
Yeah, Hinare and Shingo, sure. 2 good matches on that card, sure.
Yeah.
No draw, though.
That's not true. I mean, Evil. I mean, it's going to be a packed building to see Evil get this title. I think that it's going to be a huge sellout, like Moxley coming in. AEW is going to play it on all their shows. You know, it's going to be unbelievable, that match. I think it will be an unbelievable match. You will not believe the kind of quality that they bring you. The level of action you'll see in that match will be something you never thought you would see before in a main event.
Quality. Quality is a good point, Dylan. Let's talk about quality
Or
for their ongoing tournament right now.
That's a lot better than the evil.
What's your opinion on the first 2 days of the Best of the Super Junior 31?
Well, you know, it's too early to really make wide statements, but I will say that I liked what I've seen so far from a few talents. Some have stood out, some haven't, to be honest, but they've been pretty good. You know, I thought definitely on the second night, the last couple of matches really stood out.
Yes.
You know, it really upgraded from night one. Night one, my favorite match was Kevin Knight and TJP.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that Knight, he had something in that match that he didn't really have last year in his run. I was really looking forward and high on him going into the junior tournament last year, and I don't think he really showed out the way I was hoping for. But here, I thought he looked really great. I thought even his performance on the second night was just an atrocious performer. Was able to get something out, like literally one of the worst wrestlers in any promotion. Like, I'm not even like joking or being funny about that. Like, he was able to get a decent match out of him, and I was so happy. And I thought like Christian and Connors had to be one of the worst matches I've seen in a long time.
Holy crap! That was one of the worst curb stomps I've ever seen.
Everything was bad. I mean, he was blowing things left and right. Like, he couldn't even do a DDT, like bump on a DDT right. Anybody could do that. And I mean, man.
Wow.
And I will say he was my pick in the Wrestle Update Awards as the worst wrestler of 2023. And he's lived up to that status so far with his performance in that match.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a problematic character in this tournament.
I want to say on the topic of the best match on the second show, on the first show actually, I'm sorry, Kevin Knight and TJP. There was Kushida versus Hiromu Takahashi. Definitely Kushida's best performance in a New Japan ring in a long, long time. Loved the match as well. And Titan versus Desperado, also loved the match. I think you can go either way with these three top matches. Pick your favorites on what you like or who you like. I think this was a strong top of the card for the first night of the BOSJ.
All three were very good. I wouldn't say any of them were great, personally. Like,
yes,
I thought they were.
There's no match that would be in contention for match of the half year.
No, but I did enjoy that match specifically because I thought Knight gained a lot. You were right about Kushida coming in. You know, I mean, he wasn't even supposed to be in originally, but he wrestled like a great somebody who had like he wants to prove that, hey, like I'm not dead yet, guys.
And he's switching up his stuff a bit. He's doing the hoverboard lock, but he's also using it in a way where he's transitioning it to pinning combinations, which is how he defeated Show on the second night with a cross-armed roll-up there. I like that. So, the slump for Hiromu Takahashi continues because he also lost in the main event of the second night in a great match against Doki. These two, we talked about Hiromu Takahashi a lot last year. I feel like when he's in with a Doki, we can see the spark of what the great junior heavyweight runs that Takahashi had in years past were like. Because Doki brings something out of him that few guys bring out of them these days.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Doki's a great wrestler in and of himself, like just on his own, and I think that he proved that he deserved that main event spot, you know, on their show in Korakuen. That might have been my favorite match of the tournament so far, actually. It was Doki and Hiromu. Yep. Maybe the semi-main was another great match with Desperado and Fujita. Yeah, that was a great match.
Such a great story with Desperado really not taking Kosei Fujita seriously. But Fujita, he worked himself through the leg work that Desperado did on him and came back with all of his flying offense, still being able to do that. So Desperado had to put him away with with the the finishing move, the numero dos, right?
Yeah.
Numero dos.
Yeah, numero dos, yeah.
Numero dos, yes. Was great stuff. Other than that, on that show, I want to say, from a standpoint of a complete show, this has to be one of the better New Japan shows of the year. I might even go as far as to say it was the second best New Japan show after the one with the cage match in February. Because
that was a great show.
It had a great flow. It was a bunch of short matches, yes, but there was a lot of variety between these matches. You mentioned the opener. Kevin Knight did a good job with Blake Christian. Ninja Mac and Francesco Akira. Great chemistry between the two. Great win for Ninja Mac with the Ninja Bomb. Clark Connors versus Hayata. Yeah, we don't have to talk about that one. But Robbie Eagles and Drilla Maloney. Great match as well with leg work from Eagles.
Yeah.
Working over Drilla Maloney. Kanemaru and TJP, they had a quick cheating match. That's fine. Ishimori and Daya. They had a sub 5-minute match in which they tried to do a version of a world liner with Dragon Daya going for the reptilian and Ishimori returning it into a pinning combination, much like Suzumu Yokosuka and Dragon Kid would. Titan and Bushi, also a good match, also focused on leg work, but some cool flying stuff there as well. And then the main event matches that we shouted out. So this was a very good show, top to bottom.
I hate what they've done with Daya so far. The two shows, both so short. Yeah. They had him kick out of the new move right away in the first match.
And you saw in this match here in Kirken Hall how immensely popular he is and how great he is, because the few glimpses that we got against Ishimori here, he was outstanding.
Yeah, he's one of the best guys to be in the tournament, but they're putting him in these really short matches. Like I said, I think I said this to Jonathan on the Patreon show. I would have flipped, instead of having if it were me, instead of having Kushida beat Hiromu on the first night, I would have had Daya beat Hiromu. Like, flip their spots. Like, have Daya have the match with Hiromu, immediately, establish him as on that level. But I also understand why you might not want to do that for another company's guy. You might not be that interested, ultimately, and they're not, based on what we've seen so far. I really didn't like him kicking out of that move like that. They spent. It's a good move, first of all. Yeah. Way better than Anzai's new move. That should have been Anzai's finisher. They haven't
even named the move yet. When he did it in Dragon Gate, they just called it modified driver, and now Ishimori already has kicked out of it. So I don't know.
Akira did the first night.
Akira did. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
And now I don't know what the future of that move looks like.
It is a driver. There's no doubt about that. But second show. Yeah, I like the Ninja Mac match with Akira. He's another guy. We talked about it before. Just so easy to get into, very over. Get over a guy like that. We saw it in Noah, and we're going to see it in this tournament too. He did good stuff there. They protected him pretty well so far. We'll see what he does going ahead. Liked Eagles and Drilla. I mean, you did have the submission finish. I thought it was a good match. Don't get me wrong, for sure. I like that. The two main event matches I thought were the best matches of the tournament so far. The Desperado Fujita versus Doki and Hiromu. Otherwise, I thought there was a lot in there that wasn't that special, to be honest. But I mean, it wasn't a bad show for sure. And a lot of even the bad stuff, like the show and the Kanemaru, that stuff was kept really short. So it wasn't too off-putting. Like you said, even the opener I thought was a good opener, one of the better Christian matches that I've seen sometime. I thought maybe he took a lot of the criticism for night one to heart and maybe tried to do better. And Kevin Knight is really on a good run. He's impressed me totally in the first two nights, and hopefully we see a big step up from him. So early going on the tournament, mostly positive. I wouldn't say it's been a blow-away run, but 2 shows in, I would say a good tournament with some really good matches to watch. You've got a handful of things you could go out and watch and enjoy. And, the second show, like you said, there was a lot of variety on that show. So definitely worth a watch. If I had to pick some, one thing I would like to see Daya get more time so he can establish himself. And I think, like you said, it's not because he's not popular enough. like we could see that reaction in Korakuen. So I would like to see him in a big match going forward.
Yes. So let us look at the final days of block action, our cheat code here on Eastern Lariat.
Yes, I sent this to you.
Yes.
The days. Talk about it.
Shout out to you, Dylan. So block A final. I see this coming down to Desperado versus Hayata and TJP versus Titan, with I think TJP advancing for me is a lock because I think he's facing Akira from block B in the semifinals.
Yeah.
That would eliminate Titan, I guess.
Yeah.
And the other one seems to be Hayata.
Yeah, that was my predictions too. Like I had the exact same ones from A block.
Mm-hmm. And from block B, like I said, Akira. And might be coming down to Hiromu and Taiji Shimori.
To me, it's like totally obvious Hiromu is winning this. But I mean, maybe they'll swerve us. But like they've set up it, like the whole story, like the real story of this tournament is his losing streak going in.
Right.
And that's going to get paid off at the end. I'm really bummed out that, again, I respect Ishimori a lot. Like as a wrestler, I've always been a fan of his. I think he's got a lot of great things to him. I don't love that it's coming down to these two again. Like, it just feels like so. Again, it's like Desperado and Hiromu. It's like we've seen them wrestle so many times. It's just not interesting to me at all anymore. Like, I have no love for that match. And maybe it'll probably be a really good match. And it's a great payoff last year where they had the scary injury for Ishimori. Where you want to have them complete their story and have a full match. So I'm with it on that end. But I just. I wish that they had a more interesting opponent for Hiromu to overcome at the end.
Yep. But who would that be from?
That's the thing. There is nobody in B block. Yeah, so I guess it's the best we could hope for overall. Should be a good match.
They could have done Hiromu versus Sho on the final day because Sho is champion.
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of Akira. Like, Akira is not winning the tournament, but to have him beat the champion, I think, is a great win for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. It's getting kind of late, Dylan. So final.
Well, wait a minute. Who do you think's going to win?
Hiromu, of course.
Oh, well, so you think it'll go down to Hiromu and Hayata? Is this fun?
Hiromu and Akira, I can see.
That would be good.
If that works out positioning-wise?
Yeah, and it would make sense because then you could have Akira and TJP fight each other in the semifinals.
Exactly.
So yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, I agree Hiromu's going to win, but I just wanted to get the confirmation.
Yes! Champion Carnival. Big Japan, All Japan Champion Carnival. I've said it to you kind of halfway through the tournament, and you have also done a show with Jess, of course. It has not been the tournament they needed. They needed, after this mess with Katsuki Nakajima, they needed a good tournament with some blow-away matches, and it's just not been that tournament. Donna, we can go here and talk about all the guys that have been in the blocks. It's 16, so that's not going to take that long. And I'm baffled about some of the placings that they did. So let's start with Block B, because that is, of course, the block in which Yuma Anzai has been in, and that's one of the stories of the tournament. The lowest position in the block was Ryukyu Honda and Hartley Jackson with 4 points. With Hartley Jackson, you could, of course, have expected that, but Ryukyu Honda positioning that low was a real surprise to me. And especially considering that one of his wins came against the Triple Crown champion and his tag team partner, Yuma Anzai. So Honda, he's now in his next quote-unquote big match, challenging EC3 for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in Korakuen Hall on the 29th of May. Dylan, I am bewildered by Honda's run right now.
It makes perfect sense if you think about it in a certain way. Think of him as B Block's IMA. It's basically the exact run.
Yeah.
They put him over one big guy and thought he was established and that he could lose everything else because he got his win of the tournament. He beat the champion.
It's another thing that makes Ansai look really bad that he lost to this bottom of the barrel guy.
It still sucks. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying they're thinking.
I know.
And we've seen this style again. This is very common, and I'll say the same example I did on the Patreon show with Jonathan. Like, I remember the very first Global League in NOAH, the first night of the tournament. Marufuji beat Takayama, like huge upset. When this was like before Marufuji was the ace of the company. Nobody expected it. Then Takayama won the tournament, and Marufuji didn't win any other matches in the tournament. And like their whole deal was like he beat the winner of the tournament, and that's all he needed in their eyes. I don't agree with that way of thinking, but that's how they went with it. So if you think of him as Ayabe in B Block, then it makes sense. But it's still wrong. I'm not defending it. I'm saying I think that's how they viewed it.
Yeah. Hartley, it was nice for him to be in the tournament. He didn't really have any match that makes me want to see him return to the Champion Carnival per se. As a guy in All Japan, I think he has a shot of staying around. And why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Maybe not for a Champion Carnival again.
Yeah, the thing with him, and this is a problem with a lot of these guys in this whole tournament, really. If you look at this whole tournament, it's kind of similar to how we've seen the best of Super Juniors so far. A lot of short matches.
Yeah.
Like with a lot of these guys. Like, not a lot of matches went over 10 minutes in the undercards. And Hartley was in the undercard a lot of the time.
And sometimes I wonder why that is, because it's not like it's a huge tournament. It's 8 guys in a block.
Yeah, you're right. It's not like it's this 32 like G1 last year or whatever. Like, you've got a good amount of people here that you could do longer matches. I agree with that. And I think maybe they thought they were protecting some of these guys because in B Block you had a lot of big guys. Yeah. Hartley, Lord Crew. In the A Block you had Cyrus. Maybe you didn't want these guys going too long. But I think for somebody like a Cyrus and a Crew, you would want to give them a spotlight shot. Like let them have a big match. Like let Hartley have a long match. Hey, Hartley did a good job as the champion in Ganbare Pro. If you guys remember that run. And really ingratiated himself. And we were talking, I think a good spot for him if he were to stay. Like you said, I think Champion Carnival might not be the best use of him. Maybe like a TV title run where you can kind of redo what they did with Ganpro. And if you put over a guy, like for me, I mean, I know he's hurt right now, but let's say Inoue beat Hartley for the title, that would feel like a big step up for a guy like that. And I think you can.
Good idea, yeah.
I think if you could have him, I mean, this guy has been around for decades at this point in Japan. He has status of some sort. I'm not saying he was like the hugest star ever, but he was a Fire Festival winner, 0-1. In the years past, Gone Pro champion. I think if you have an undercard guy you want to elevate, putting him over Hartley is harmless to your roster. You could get a pretty decent match, and it would feel like a big deal to beat such a big guy. So I think you can get something of him. But in terms of the tournament, I don't think there was a lot there in terms of match quality. And I don't even think they really had that in mind for him. They just wanted a lot of big guys, I feel like, in this tournament to have in there.
Lord Crew is another mystery to me, to be quite honest.
It's the beard, isn't it?
No, it's the fact that this guy actually carries himself like a superstar. I love the way that he struts to the ring. It doesn't look like any other wrestler to me. It looks like that he has found his own way to just walk to the ring, and he looks great doing that. When he gets inside the ring, they gave him a lot of short matches. They let him squash Honda on the first day in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And they didn't follow up with anything because I still have no idea what this guy is all about, because I think his longest match was like 8 minutes long or something like that. So
it was against Hartley.
And what we've seen is a lot of very basic offense. Nothing that you can really hold on to and say, that's a Lord Crew move.
What about that spin kick he does?
The tornado kick. That
Yeah.
Everybody does these days.
That a lot of people do, but not at his size.
I don't know, man.
You weren't impressed by this very much.
No, I would like to be impressed because, like I said, there is positives to this guy. But it felt to me, I don't know, it might be an unfair observation, but it felt to me that they very early on pulled the plug and said, okay, this guy's only having very short matches.
And like I said, I mean, that's a lot of this tournament, though. Like you would say the same thing about Hartley overall.
Right.
So I think it was I think they did it on purpose for sure, but for some reasons we can't agree with or understand fully. I think they just wanted the tournament to be that way. I'll say this about him. I mean, this guy is someone nobody knew coming in. Like, total unknown. I agree with you that he carries himself very well. He's got a great physical charisma to him, not just his size, but his charisma. Mm-hmm. I think, and I'll say this is a compliment I'll give him. I never once watched him in this tournament and felt like this guy doesn't belong here. But on the other hand, the matches were so short, maybe that's also an unfair observation. Like, we really didn't get to see what he could do. But
I have no idea what this guy is supposed to be. I have no clue.
He's big. Like, that's literally it. He's a big guy with a big beard. Mm. That's as far as we got with
but glasses too.
And the glasses, yes, of course. We cannot forget about those.
I would love to know more. I mean, why couldn't they have done like a introductional promo where he just says what his motivation is and what he wants to achieve here?
I think that would have benefited the international fans in a way they don't care about right now. But on the other hand, why bring in foreigners? Like, if that's how you're thinking, which they clearly want to. We're going to talk about EC3. You brought him up. Like you said, that would have been good. I thought he did fine, but I think they protected him in a way too with the short matches where I didn't see anything where I thought, oh, this guy stinks. I think, oh, he's a big guy, and like that's basically how I felt about them. But if they wanted to give him another shot, same with Hartley. I have no reason from anything I've seen in this tournament that I think no, he shouldn't be here. I think if they give him another chance, I would be fine with that. But I also can't say, oh man, he really impressed me. He didn't even get a chance to ultimately.
Yeah, that's true. Hideki Suzuki, if not anything else in this tournament, he proved that he will lie down when it matters, and it did matter for Rei Saito and for Jun Saito, and he also lost to Lord Crew. That did not matter. But he definitely showed that he is willing to take a loss. And like I said, for the Saito brothers, that's important losses because those are the two guys that they focus on. Yeah. The match that I did not like, though, was the match with Yuma Anzai, because a Triple Crown champion should never lose to a half crab hold.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we're going to talk about Anzai. There's a lot of problems, I think, with his tournament. None by his performance, but based on
none of his fault either.
Exactly. That's like he didn't do anything wrong. Hideki. Yeah, I've always thought that like him being this like uncooperative guy, always wanted to put everybody down, was a little overrated. If you look about this tournament, he was basically the fall guy in their team, which I hate with Suwama, like the worst team ever. Like him and Suwama. In Noah, he put over Kaito brilliantly. And the thing in this tournament, I thought, those were good losses. Even against Ray, I mean, Ray smacked his ass down after that match. Like, it was kind of goofy. I actually didn't like the Ray match as much as the June match, personally, because like he did all this arm work and then you just blow it off. Like to use the arm move at the end, then slap him after the match with the injured arm. But Hideki, in that Noah run, to me, he was like the MVP of that tournament, like the N1 he was in. Basic final with Kaito, great matches with a lot of people. He wasn't that in this run in the Champion Carnival, but he was a consistent performer, put over two of the main guys in the Saitos. I thought the match with Suwama was one of the best matches of the tournament to me. I thought they worked really well together, and they had a good run. And the Anzai match, the finish, yes, I totally agree with you on. But in terms of the actual in-ring work, I thought was really good as well. So
they have great chemistry. We've said it times and times before.
Yeah. And that's another one. They didn't even scratch the surface of what I think they could do. Like if they wanted to go on. This was like a 10-minute match.
Yeah, like it frustrated me as well.
Yeah, if they have a title match coming out of this, which I hope they do, I think they could have a really banger type of match for sure. But Hideki was good. I wouldn't say it was a great tournament, but I thought he did really good in his role. Yeah,
you mentioned it. The one of the best matches in that block was Hideki against Suwama. Suwama was one of those guys in the end with 8 points, much like Hideki, Yuma Anzai, and Rei Saito, all on that level. For Suwama, I think it was a pretty good tournament overall. Nothing that stood out necessarily, but good stuff there.
I disagree with that. I thought him versus Anzai was the best match of the tournament, personally. Like, that was the one time Anzai looked like the dude. Like,
the face lock match. Oh, that is correct. Yeah, the face lock match. That was so great. You're right.
Yeah, like I thought Suwama was one of the best guys in general of the tournament. I thought the match with Hideki was great. He put over the right people. Like him versus Saito felt like a big match.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're correct.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job. I didn't love the sleeper hold deal he was doing there for a little while, especially the one against Hartley.
The Manriki sleeper.
Yeah, that wasn't good. But outside of those 2 matches with Hartley and Crew, the other matches, I thought he did a really good job. And the match with Anzai was that was the match that I thought best accomplished what I thought they should have throughout the tournament.
Should have done it with Yuma Anzai, yes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right on that. The Jun match, also good. So, Wama, good tournament.
Yeah, and it's a great thing with, again, these guys who have kind of had the rep for being like politicking guys. they both showed that they that was a little overrated.
Team players.
Yeah, and they should be.
So, yeah, Zuawa did not end up winning the block like we anticipated he would, because they could have gone for another Kento and Zuawa match. I'm glad that they did not, because it's not Zuwama's position anymore, to be quite honest. He's not like the main event guy anymore, nor should he. The main event guy right now, Yuma Anzai, ends the tournament with 8 points, was eliminated. Yeah. I called for Yuma Anzai to win the tournament because I thought he needed it after this terrible win on the Triple Crown.
This heartbreaking win that he had.
Sounds so bad when you say it like that, but in reality it was. So, he was eliminated on the final day at least, but he was eliminated before the main event even started. And he lost to Hideki, to Rei Saito, and to Ryukyu Honda, like I said. The one loss I would have given him would have been against Rei Saito, because Rei Saito couldn't make his title match against Nakajima in February because of his injury, his dislocated elbow he had. That would have been the one loss that I would have given to him. Someone on Twitter mentioned that, and I thought it was a good point as well, that Honda's win over him was kind of a way to balance them out as tag team partners. But still, though, I think Yuma Anzai's need for wins is superior to that, in my opinion.
I agree.
So, what stands right now is we have a Triple Crown champion that couldn't even beat the junior champion. Remember, they did a time limit draw right after the title win. It was the first match after the title win. He drew with Rising Hayato. And I know that Rising Hayato is one of those guys that they push a lot as well, but Yuma Anzai is the Triple Crown champion. He should have won the match. He got wins over Jun Saito, Lord Crew, Zuwama, and Hartley Jackson. It's not very impressive for Triple Crown champion.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't rule it out that they have him lose to Kento Miyahara.
And that's the thing. Like the end game of all of this is going to be determined by how that match goes. Like my opinion of it, anyway. I would say the tournament for Anzai, we both have the same criticism of him here. It's not his fault. I think in terms of in-ring performance, he would be my pick for the MVP of the tournament. Like I thought he was the best one. The match against
the match with Honda was one of the early great matches in the tournament.
And hey, this tournament started off really slow those first couple of days.
Yeah,
they weren't great shows. That was the switch flip of the tournament that it elevated, was when him and Honda had that match. Like that's when it felt like the tournament finally got into gear on night 3. And
the finish of Rei Saito against Yuma Anzai was incredible. He took the ice bind, the palm strike to the face, like no one has taken it before or after that.
Oh man, he's just so good, and I love him as a wrestler so much. I stand by what I said at the very start of all of this. Putting him in B block undercut what he should have done. Because
in hindsight, I agree with that. I thought there would have been a way to make it work out, but they chose not to.
Yeah, like it was a signal. Like they, putting him against all these big guys. And hey, he is a great, fantastic underdog. Like, let's just be honest about it. His performance was so good in that role, and we all know that. But that's not what he needs to be anymore. He is the champion. Like you said, he is the champion. When, like, Hayato, he's the Triple Crown champion. He needs to win. Like, that's it. That's all we need to say about that. But they've gone this opposite way with him, which would be not great anyway. But especially after the Nakajima match that you said, I 100% agree with you on how they did it. I think they really dropped the ball in this tournament in terms of making him the guy. The Suwama match was the one time, and I really wish that they had really continued on that run. Like, he could have gone undefeated after that and really had a great run. But instead, they kind of evened him out. Like, he lost 2 matches, he won 2 after that. So, it is what it is. Well, he didn't even win 2. He won 1 after that. He beat Hartley and lost to Ray and Hideki after the Suwama match. So he's really this middle-of-the-road guy, and he needed a lot more, and it's a real disservice that they did to him. And I'll tell you right now, if they have Kento win this title, and he has no defenses in his first-ever Triple Crown run, I think that is a massive mistake if that happens. Like, I utterly disagree with that. If that happens, there's no possible way. And listen, that match that him and Kento are going to have, it's going to be a great match, people. Like, mark it on your calendar. That match is going to rule. And they've announced that?
Yeah, they did. March 29, Kirkenall. The same show that EC3 versus Honda happens. And for the World Tag Team title, the Saito brothers defend against The End. Pero and Odinson are back. I like that.
Jonathan gave the idea that Kento, if he had just said, I'm holding off the title shot until the anniversary show, that would have fixed every problem I have with Kento winning the tournament, pretty much. Because then you could give him a title reign out of this. As it is, we'll see. But I definitely think match-wise, performance-wise,
he has to beat Miyahara because there are others in the tournament he lost to that he needs to avenge the loss against.
And he can't go out with a 0 defense, like V0 title reign. Like, no.
It would be
like,
so bad.
Yeah, especially after what happened, like how he won. Like, no is my response to that. No.
Okay. That's Anzai.
But his performance was really great. His performance was great.
The Saito brothers. I have a feeling that Jun Saito is on the verge of overtaking his brother in terms of how the company values them. Rei Saito, he is great, and I love the match that these two had with one another. This felt like a real fight between 2 brothers. That was amazing, man. May 3rd, main event in Sendai. Not only did they have a great main event match, they also once again proved that they are certified draws for this company. I said it on the day that the show happened. I watched some of the early matches live, and people in the live stream, Japanese fans, were amazed at how many people were there in Dream Messe Miyagi main building. Patrick from Twitter, he mentioned that All Japan had to upgrade to the bigger building of that complex because of the ticket sales, and that's due to the Saito brothers. So these two certified draws. Jun Saito, he made it to the Champion Carnival finals, and I remember that I think I might have said something along the lines, or expected that, definitely, that he could be one of those guys in contention. Nevertheless, what I was going to say is, yes, Rei Saito beat Jun Saito in their match. It still, though, kind of feels like that for now, at least, they might be leaning into the direction of Jun Saito taking the lead role between the brothers. That might also change in the next coming months when Rei Saito gets his shot. It feels balanced out well right now between the brothers because they want both of them to be big stars and they want to protect both of them, so they are balancing that out. Might also just be a feeling because he made the finals. I think that
all of that can be true simultaneously as well.
Yes. Yeah. I've expressed my love for Rei Saito's grunting, and I also want to express my love for the way that Jun carries himself in a completely different fashion than his brother, because he's more of the cool dude, the sunglasses, and he walks much slower than his brother. So these two, they really have this down. They are late starters, and they improve at a rapid pace, Dylan.
Oh, yeah, they've done a great job with both brothers. Like, I don't think you could find any complaints with their tournament, either booking-wise or performance-wise. Their match together was so good. You know, June obviously got to make the finals. That's a win for him. Ray definitely has the aura that they want as well. They both just know how to be guys that you want to see. Like, whether it's in the ring, whether it's how they carry themselves, stuff on social media. I think both guys bring a ton to the table. And they're up there as two of the more, like, in terms of who gained everything, you point to two acts, like these two and then Ayabe and A Block. They were the guys that I felt like they were elevated the most in this tournament. And I think both of the Saitos were striking successes. And it's been nothing but good things ever since they stopped the Voodoo Murder stuff, pretty much. And they've been able to do that. And I can't wait to see where they go. Like, I love the idea of these two competing both, you know, in the kayfabe sense of them fighting each other, but also in the real life, the meta sense of, like you said, who is the lead guy? Who is the better Saito brother? Because I don't think we could say for certain right now. And like a lot of people favored Ray for a long time, but now June's getting his push. Again, kind of what you said about the inmates, the ratings earlier. That main event spot means a lot to a lot of people, apparently. So, and I think that him getting that main event spot really could change some people's views of this team. Who's the better one? It's more evened out now. Maybe we can see who stands ahead in the future, but I can't wait to see how it plays out because I just love what these guys bring to the table.
Yes, so that completes Block B.
But one thing important to say about that, Ray is automatically the best one. And I think we all agree with that because he follows the Eastern Lariat Twitter.
Ha! Yes! We are Ray guys now.
Yeah.
All right. So, someone who does not follow the Eastern Lariat apparently is Ren Ayabe. Boo. Yeah, he got his big win over Kento, and that was it for him. Still, though, like you said, I think that he gained a lot from this tournament. His new look fits right in with the top of All Japan Pro Wrestling. He has got a great theme on his hand, great theme song. He's getting to know himself as a big guy wrestler more and more. Now with being in All Japan Pro Wrestling, he's trying various things. I really like his Dragon Suplex, and I think that more big guys should use suplex holds as their finishing moves because they look devastating, and his Dragon Suplex does look devastating. Liked his performances in the tournament. I would have loved to see him gain at least one more win, but for whatever reason, that was not something that they went for. but Ren Ayabe is definitely one that is going to have a lot of impact in All Japan Pro Wrestling in the future.
This tells you the story of where these two are at, Ayabe and Honda, where this run, like they were the exact same run pretty much, but for Ayabe, it's seen as a great success and elevation because he was at ground zero, like heading into the tournament. Honda is somebody we already thought would be a Triple Crown level guy on there and a big popular guy, but they had the same run. Honda's feels like a disappointment. Ayabe's feels like a big success. So I think it's interesting. Performance-wise, I mean, the Rainmaker has come to All Japan here.
Yes.
With this, clearly taking a lot of inspiration from a certain former wrestler in New Japan here. But
not a bad formula to copy, actually.
Only one of the most successful performers, most push performers. He even does the drop kick the same as Okada. And it is great, but I hated how he clapped his hand. It was so soft when because he does it the same way as Okada. Hand clap, boom, drop kick. He's done it a million times. He does the same way as Okada, but his hand clap is so soft. And it was a metaphor for his strikes. But he improved as the tournament went along, actually. I think as this tournament went along, from where he was at when he beat Kento, that was cool because he won. But I didn't think the match was a great match. Personally, I thought it was good, but him winning was the main thing. Yeah. By the end of the tournament, I thought he turned into a totally solid worker. The sky is the limit with him, and I think once he gets more comfortable with using his size, the strikes and things like that he can bring in, man, you could have a guy. This was a really wise investment from All Japan over the years, and to get him signed into this tournament was the right move. The new look, definitely an improvement. They gave him the new finisher, the Death Roulette. I know you love the Dragon Suplex, but the Death Roulette was what his big move, which is basically like a Falcon Arrow crash, where it's like a face forward gourd buster, and so it's a good little move, cool name, cool theme song. It seems like they're investing time and care into him to make him, and I think he is. If all goes well and things keep going how they're going, he's going to be a main event player for this company.
Yeah. By this time next year, he's going to be at least in the middle of the field. Here, there will be a storyline where if he's frustrated about his first run in the Champion Carnival and wants to avenge that. So that's going to be a story for next year. And that's fine. He's young.
And like I said, I think ultimately him beating Kento was all he needed. Really. With Honda, we had higher expectations, and that's why we're not happy that he just got the one. But with him getting a win over Kento, I think his tournament was made there.
Hokuto Omori.
Oh, the worst performer in the tournament.
What the fuck?
Okay, so here's the thing. I think we both agree this gimmick sucks with the horse.
WH on Post Perezo said that he feels like he's getting punished for something again.
Probably, maybe they blame him for Nakajima. We can't punish Nakajima.
The conspiracy theory is that the other guy under the horse mask is Nakajima.
Well, but he's not nearly big enough to be Nakajima, though.
That's true. Yes, he feels like it was a different guy on different nights.
See, Jess said that too, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you the same thing I said to her. I didn't care enough to notice. It was a different guy. So I'm not saying you're wrong. You're probably right. I'm saying I didn't notice on there because I was trying. I feel like, listen, maybe he's getting punished. I felt like I was getting punished for something, Strigga.
You're in the doghouse now.
I think God had something against me, and he said, we are going to make sure that Hokuto Omori, a guy you have defended, is now going to have. And now he's done this before, to be fair, this horse deal. And it was highly unsuccessful when he did it the first time. And it continues to be unsuccessful. Here's my defense of him. This tournament sucked. He was the worst performer in the tournament. I'm not denying that. And on top of it, another issue with this. You're saying the rumor is Nakajima's under the horse mask. Well, we won't know because
that's a rumor that I'm spreading.
Well, but how could we know? Because they didn't pay it off.
Was. Yeah, I was watching the Champion Carnival final night, and I was so prepared for somebody being shown under the mask, but no, it's just going to continue apparently. I want to give Hokuto Omori that. On the day that All Together happened, he did this thing where he beat Yuma Aoyagi, and he had him laid out in the middle of the ring, and they played the original All Together song, and Hokuto Omori was dancing. That was great. Great shoot.
That was very good. Like I will agree with that for sure. But like I said, that's one of my even bigger problems. Okay, it sucked, but at least maybe if you had a reveal, if it was Nakajima, we can at least go somewhere with this. It revealed something all along, blah, blah, blah. Or even if it's a new guy, they can at least go somewhere with this. By not revealing it at all, what was the point even of it?
There's no point.
And I'll say this about him, because people are down on him and talking bad about him. I've seen multiple people say he needs to retire after this tournament.
Wow. That's a bit harsh.
Watch the tag league final that he pinned Yuma in. Tell me he doesn't have what it takes in that match.
It's incredible. It's night and day since December.
It was a few months ago this happened. They totally gave up on him after that. Like, immediately. They never even gave him a chance, and he looked like a star at the end of that. He won the respect of Nakajima. Like, what? Oh, my God. Very disappointing tournament for him, and yeah, I liked him even less than Jiro. Like, that tells you something right there.
Wow. But I agree, definitely. Yeah. Cyrus. I've become to be a Cyrus respecter. I like the guy.
Yes!
I like the guy. I love the big guy. He's doing well for himself in his role. He almost crushed Ryukyu Honda's face on the final day of the G1 of the Champion Carnival with the guardrail. But the match against Kento, I think it was really good. And afterwards, he threw the guardrail into the ring from such a far distance with such precision. I was really impressed.
We have to find out if he has a javelin background for this. But yeah, the thing is with Cyrus, you're not watching him to say, oh, he had all these great matches.
No.
Like, that's not what you're getting with him. But for his role, I think he plays it. Exactly. And he plays it very well. Like, a menacing big guy. Like, he's not even meant, like, Crew is a big guy who we wanted to see more of. But with Cyrus, that's not even his role. Like, he is not meant to have that. He is meant to be this big wrecking ball of a man that will not like, he's not meant to last long. He's devastating, and for a short burst of time, and he's intimidating. He has great physical charisma. He carries himself well. He knows his role, and he plays it very well. So again, I wouldn't say he's an MVP candidate, but for his role, I thought he played it perfectly and did a fine job in A block.
Yes, agreed. Shotaro Hashino.
I also think he's better in A block than if he had been in B block, like with all the other big guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have looked good against all the tall big guys.
Yeah.
Shotaro Hashino, one of the best performers in this block, and one of the best performers in the entire tournament. Had great matches with Kento Miyahara, with Yuma Aoyagi. It was not his year. He won last year and unfortunately couldn't make his title defense against Yuji Nagata back then. But Shotaro Hashino, always a guy they can bank on. And I'm sure he will get another chance a couple of years from now.
I think as a wrestler, he was great. Like, he was the best guy in A block to me. Such a talented performer. I liked his match with Jiro, actually. Like, I thought he did the best job with him. He against everybody. Like you said, Kento, he did a great job against. And he's just a talented, like, I just love watching him wrestle. I think push-wise, man, it's tough. Like, it's going to be tough because I think right now with All Japan, they're so set on these new guys, like whether it's Anzai or the Saito brothers, it feels like he lost his spot. And I'm hopeful that I'm wrong. I would love to see them. I mean, they broke up the faction. They did everything going on there. The Gungnir of Anarchy, like they broke up when he left, or not when he left, but when he was injured. He's come back and wrestled great. I've loved all of his matches this year. I hope that they have something in play for him. I don't know what that is right now, like where he really slots in on this roster at the moment, But I hope they figure something out. Even if it goes back to another tag run, like I think if they could reunite him and Honda as a team again, that would be really cool. Like with Anzai as the champion right now. Or you could do something. I want it to be something different than teaming with Jiro and Seigo, like as a Wrestle One tribute team. Like that to me is not a main event act.
No.
In any way. Even though I like Seigo, like his match versus Dan was a great TV match.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
like
want to give that a shout out because it was on the Block A final, wasn't it? Yes, it was on the Block A final, and they were damn determined to have the best match on the show. And I want to say, I think they did.
Yeah, me too.
I think they had the best match on the show.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It was the third match on the show, and they just had a banger.
Yeah, that rocks. Dan is a guy, I really liked what he brought to the table. I think he's a little underappreciated in his junior title reign. And Seigo, I think, is definitely proving his worth as TV champion. I really enjoyed what they brought together. I definitely agree, was a legit banger. You got to check that one out, people. But Ashino still I think should be with somebody else as a partner. Well, maybe him and Seigo, if they were to form like a team, that could be something. But that's kind of where I see Ashino right now. Like I think he's kind of like maxed out as a tag team guy at this point. I don't know if he can get back to the top of the card. But hey, to be honest with you, I didn't think he was going to win the tournament last year, and he did overcome that, and I think he shocked everybody and did a great job. I mean, it's unfortunate the match ended with his arm breaking, but he had a great match, though, in the final and a great tournament, and he did once again this year. So he's a guy I feel like is kind of in that Goto role of like 10 years ago, where he's like good for a random title shot here and there. He's always got credibility, but I don't think they see him at that level, and they've got different plans for their main event scene. But I hope I'm wrong because I think he deserves it, and I would love to see him come back and get the title run that I wish he had last year.
So, Dylan, what about Jiro?
I mean, you know what you get with him. He was terrible to me, but I think I did like it when he tried to, like the time he tried to go, grab the little girl, and she just hated him. She just cried because it justified so many years of people telling me, "Oh, Dylan, yeah, I get it. You think he sucks, but if you're there live, everyone loves his entrance.
Everyone loves Jiro."
The little girl told you are wrong. Not everybody loves Jiro's entrance live, and Yuma, the heroic Yuma Aoyagi,
yes,
helped the little girl feel better, and just took care of that.
That's why Jiro hates him now. That's why Jiro attacked him with a chair.
And he did. Didn't Yuma tie him onto the ring or something to get the win
tied him onto the ring to get the count out victory. That was one of the funniest parts of the entire tournament.
Yeah, so he showed that Jiro, he needs to leave these people alone. Stay in your lane, Jiro. Don't be threatening the fans, the kids. You can't be doing that crap, brother. It's time for Yuma to put you down for that. And he did. He put him down with a count out, which, it's a win, I guess. But he's a comedy guy. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah, and exactly. That's it for Jiro. Yuma Aoyagi is kind of a victim of the same.
Yeah.
Yuma Aoyagi is incredibly good at everything that they give him, and in wrestling, that can be your deathbed, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he put his best effort into this tournament, to be honest.
No, but why would he? I mean, he got some of the comedy matches with Jiro. He got a match with Cyrus that went in a clear direction. He had the
Hokuto.
match with Hokuto. Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, his skills weren't utilized to its max potential.
He was not in there to be a great wrestler in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you compare it to the tournament he won. I mean, it's a night and day, night and day difference. But I feel bad because I think he's been one of the biggest drop balls in really all of wrestling the last 6 months. I mean, ever since he lost the title, it's been a downhill slide for this man. He lost to Omori twice. In the tag league final and in the tournament. And he's another guy, it feels like he's lost his place. In contrast
to December, he lost to a low level Hokuto Omori.
Yeah, exactly. He lost to the geek guy, not a guy who looked like a star. It just feels like somewhere along the line he lost his spot. Is he getting punished for something like Omori as well?
Maybe. Well, Yuma Aoyagi. We've talked about him plenty in the last couple of months. Davey Boy Smith Jr.
And one more thing on Yuma. I will say one thing about him. As much as I do see him as a main eventer and love his work when he's serious, him in the match with Akira and the Koshinaka was hilarious.
I mean, yes, that's exactly my point. He is hilarious in these roles, and he's great in these roles.
And it's kind of it's a negative in the grand scheme, kind of.
In the grand scheme, it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Davey Boy Smith Jr. Was great for him to get this tour. He did have some good matches. The best one definitely was the one with Kento Miyahara. Mm-hmm. I see that match rated as at 7.88, and I would agree with that. I would go to an 8 out of 10 for this match because I loved the way that he cut off Kento Miyahara at every possible moment. At every possible moment that Miyahara was about to change the tide of the match. Davey Boy Smith Jr. is an incredibly experienced wrestler, and he read this Kirkenhall crowd perfectly, together with Kento Miyahara, to create a match in which he looked like, I think that was the role that was designed for him, and that was very obvious, I guess, that he was supposed to be the roadblock for the immensely popular babyface. And that worked out so well during the match. He got numerous situations in which he almost got the victory with the superplex and with the bulldog bomb. So Kento Miyahara looked great overcoming this guy. And if they continue to book him, I would book him as a tag team guy, because I don't think that a singles role is something that I should pursue for him in All Japan necessarily. I would love to see him back in somewhat of a role where he can put over other guys in the company.
Yeah, the Kento match was really good. Totally agree with your point that he was able to find his role in that match and play it really strongly. Overall in the tournament, he's just not that exciting of a performer, in my opinion. And I think that he did good matches throughout, solid in everything he did. But nothing that stood out until the Kento match, where he was really once they gave him a more character-based match, and he really shines as an all-around performer. But when he was wrestling the other guys, I mean, again, this block wasn't meant to have those kind of matches for the most part. I mean, there's only so much, especially for him. There's only so much you could do against Tajiro, Hokuto. Cyrus was another one, a big guy that really wasn't for his skill set. I don't think fit him that well. And the first block, I mean, he came out of the gates a little slow against Yuma, I thought. So, and like I said earlier, I don't think Yuma put in his best effort in this tournament either. So I think Davey did a fine job in his role and ended it on a really good note against Kento. But I think I agree with your assessment. He may be better off in a tag run in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. I like the team they had on the final day with Cyrus.
Yeah, that's the great thing about Davey Boy is that he does have great size to him. Mm-hmm. He fits in on this roster, and I think he would be a guy they could do some good things with. I like it. I would like if they could do something with him. It depends on what he wants to do. I know he's got the MLW stuff going on if he wants to be in Japan longer term, but I think he's got a role on the roster. He wouldn't be a priority for me. I think him going, they protected him really strong, and he was kind of there, like you said, the roadblock to Kento, and it worked out overall. So you can't fault him for that, nor the company. So we'll see what they do going forward. But I agree with your assessment. And to me, his tournament was fine, totally good, and ended on a good note. So you have to give that a win for him.
Exactly. So yeah, the one guy remaining is the guy who, in the end, won the tournament, like probably everybody projected. Kento Miyahara stood tall in the end in Yokohama Buntai. I loved the presentation for this final. They had the video wall with a video playing for Miyahara and for Jun Saito before they came out to their music. They did not have this Saito Brothers theme muted like they do sometimes.
Yes.
It feels so random, you know? I don't know what the rule is there. It made Kento and Jun Saito feel like big deals. And the match itself made both guys feel like big deals. This was another one where the first 8 to 10 minutes were really not that interesting. And I kind of feared that this was too early for Jun Saito because he went about everything real slow. But then suddenly a flip was switched and these two kept handing out blow after blow after blow to one another to the point that Kento Miyahara kicked out of the Psycho break and Jun Saito even got to kick out of All Japan Pro Wrestling's death move number 1, the shutdown suplex hold. That is how much they care about Jun Saito and his brother as well. It had to take another round of working around the Psycho break and the German suplex, which looked great, I thought. And in the end, it was, of course, the shutdown suplex that sealed the deal for Kento Miyahara. Great match. 8.73 on Cage Match. The final minutes were absolutely amazing.
You know, criticism against Kento having a formula for his matches are accurate, I would say. Like, I think this definitely fit his formula.
Yeah.
The problem is it's so great and it always works so well that it feels like it would be crazy to do anything else actually for his matches, because like you said, for a little while there in the early going, we were kind of scratching our heads thinking, all right, where's this going? Like this, to me, there was a lot of pressure on this tournament or this match. This tournament was not a great tournament, in my opinion. Like, I think they needed a big final to kind of help their cause here and make it feel like a big deal. And they totally accomplished that. Like, somewhere around the halfway mark, things turned. And when it turned, it didn't go from middling to good. It went from middling to great. And they just did it. Kento is the master at this. He's such an easy wrestler to watch and get into. Like, he's almost like, if you love him, like, no matter what's going on, the tournament could be bad. Maybe you're not interested in the company. Maybe you're not even interested in wrestling, like right now. But if he has a match, he is going to drag things up to a certain point. And he did it once again here. And then Jun Saito totally held up his end of the bargain. They gave him the big kick out of the shutdown, like you said. That was an amazing moment. Another win for him in the tournament. Not just making the final, but getting to kick out of the shutdown German was a huge deal for him. It was great. A great setup, great booking, and a fantastic match by the end.
And a fantastic crowd as well.
Oh, the crowd. And they were totally buying into this. And the same thing when the Saitos fought each other. The crowd was hot for that too. It feels like they've really done a great job. In terms of match quality, again, I wouldn't say it was a great tournament, but they did accomplish some things. Like when it comes to the Saitos, when it comes to IMA, like they got guys over to these All Japan fans even more than they already were. The Saitos were already getting there anyway, but now they felt like a main eventers, and Jun Saito felt like a main event player against Kento by the end of this. And to me, you can't ask for anything more than that. I think it would have been better if Jun had actually won, just because of Anzai, not because of Kento. But I think it would be better if they could have saved Anzai and Kento for later and given Anzai his run there. But my opinion of this will change depending on how Kento and Anzai goes. If Kento wins, that flips my thoughts around from what it would be if Anzai wins.
Final point I have actually on this show, it was a good show with lots of tag matches. So yeah, good of a show, good of a final show. I thought that Rising Hayato had his best title defense so far against Kasayashi. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I might agree with that. I think the problem is, I think we're still waiting on that big match from Hayato. I don't think he's had that really like signature match you could go with. I thought the match with Tamura, they do get the bonus in that match of being the main event, but I didn't think it was a great match on its own. The Musashi match, I also didn't think it was a great match on its own, to be honest. This was the better of the three. I think I agree with you that it was the best match, but I think he needs to hit a higher level to really get this title there. Because, again, Dan's title reign was somewhat similar. I mean, we discussed the Iwamoto match before, but really, in terms of reputation, it was basically similar to this. But I think that people were ready for this to go on Hayato, but I don't think he's elevated from where Dan was since he's won the title yet. So I want to see another level hit. But still, Hayashi getting the win was a great emotional, historical legacy match. That's really cool. I like the work they did. Hayashi's still a great wrestler at this point, like very talented performer, and they had a really good match. And now he's got pajamas as well. Hayato does.
Yes, let's punk, man. I like the vignette they played before the match. Definitely showing that they see a lot in Hayato. And they even had him come out to a different song this time, to I Did It My Way.
Okay. I think that, like punk rock right now.
Not
representing
punk rock. It's not punk rock. Well,
whatever.
Yeah, Dylan, I'm getting kind of tired on this side here. Is there anything else that you want to mention on this show?
I guess the last thing I'll say before we get out of here is kind of something we brought up earlier. I'm going to bring it up again. Like, what do you think Nakajima will come back to All Japan?
With time going by, I think it's getting more likely that he eventually comes back.
I tell you what, I think if Kento wins that belt, I think he's definitely coming back.
Here I am again.
Yeah, I mean, I just, if they're going to bring him back, that's the one match that feels like, okay, you beat him twice, he needs to get that win back at the end of the day. So that would be kind of a clue to me. If Kento wins that match, I think Kento and Nakajima may be the main event of the anniversary show for them. And if Kento loses, that makes things more up in the air. But it's something we have to think about, I would say, considering where we left off at with Nakajima. I think it's something to consider. So there's a lot of interest in that 29th show. EC3 coming in at the end. They're bringing all these foreigners. They're trying different things here. It's clear that they want to do different things, and they're throwing stuff at the wall, and we'll see what happens. But that main event has a ton of interest for me. Onsai versus Kento. I can't wait to watch it as a match and to see how it plays out.
Exactly. This then brings us to the end of a very long show. But we had a lot to discuss that the two of us did not get to talk about. Golden Week was a week of lots of wrestling shows. So we wanted to talk about that here, and I noticed that my voice is slowly escaping me. So Dylan, I want to give you the final words before we close it out here. Thank you for doing the show with me.
Well, thank you for coming on and doing the show. We all missed you, like I said at the start. Everybody, thank you guys so much for hanging in there and listening. STRIGGA was very busy, but we came back. It took us a little while on the show, but we did get through pretty much everything possible that we could here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the ride with us. Hopefully we did a good job being informative, entertaining, all that stuff there. But most importantly, I hope you guys all had fun watching the shows themselves, whatever you guys watched. I'd love to know some opinions on the Carnival specifically. Like, how do you think that played out? We got some big things coming up in the future. And, hey, you kind of mentioned it at one point, but we're not that far away from the half-year point where we're looking at these half-year awards. We've got another month or so in advance. And if you want more stuff from me, at least, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Eastern Lariat. We got stuff on there, and I'll be covering all of the Best of Super Juniors shows from here on out before we get to the next one, so you can get some real quick interactions, so some live looks, so to speak, day of reviews and all of that stuff. I talk about it. I'll go over all the matches. We'll go over everything, and hopefully we'll have a lot of fun. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for supporting the show. It means the world to us, and we can't wait to be back. It's going to be a lot shorter wait this time.
Exactly. So, thank you all for listening, and goodbye.
Sayonara.
MLWRadio.com network.